Before we get started on the substance, we have a quick announcement regarding some changes coming to Streaming Screams. As this episode wraps up our first season, we wanted to let you know that starting on March 6th, we'll not only be releasing episodes on the first Thursday of the month, but we'll also be releasing episodes on the third Thursday as well. We'll also be moving to a single film format from now on. We might do the occasional double feature special, but regular episodes are going to be single movies. Our first year working on this podcast has been a blast. We really appreciate you joining us on the adventure. We hope you've had as much fun as we've had, and we really look forward to having you join us as we move on into this new phase of Streaming Screams.
Broke down and I downloaded the Google Docs app. I couldn't edit anything otherwise, on my phone at least.
I know you're not a fan of having more apps on your phone.
I don't need an app for everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember how pissed you were when Facebook split.
Yeah, it's like, why do I need Messenger? I already have Facebook. I mean, now it is because it's my main way of communicating with people. I'm glad it's separate.
I think it's a lot of people's now. I use it more than I use texting, but you were really annoyed at the time. I'm not going to lie. You got a little obnoxious about it because it was like every day for a few weeks.
Because also, this is also during the time where it was really fucking annoying when like every page wanted you to subscribe.
Oh, yeah,
you go to every fucking website. And so that was why, is because it was a time when like everything had an app. Everything wanted you to like subscribe to their page. And I'm like, no, stop it. It used to be literally every website you went to.
2 apps, 1 app, whatever. It's all still going on my phone. Anywho. Welcome, everyone, to Streaming Screams. I am Glenn. I am here with Jessica.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about some horror movies. Today, we are going to be starting off with The Substance. Released in 2024. Written by... God damn it.
Oh, I have no idea how to say her name.
You know, when we did The Sadness, I was really proud of how smart I was about that and looked up all the pronunciations beforehand and put an Americanized, phonetically, thank you, fucking goddamn, professional writer here, folks. Yeah, a phonetic version of each name so that I could pronounce them. And I swore to myself that no matter what the movie was, I was going to do that from now on because it made getting through the names so much easier.
Yeah.
I stumble with the American names all the time.
Sure.
The Substance, released in 2024, written by Coralie Fargate. Fargate?
Oh, like, it's French, so.
Oh, is it French?
It's French.
Okay, that actually helps a lot that you said that. Written by Coralie Fargate, directed by Coralie Fargate. We've got Demi Moore as Elizabeth Sparkle, an aging celebrity whose star is fading. She was once an Oscar-winning actress, but now hosts a long-running aerobics TV show. After being removed from her show, she is desperate to cling on to her stardom and beauty. We've got Margaret Qualley as Sue. Though Elizabeth and Sue are the same person, Sue quickly develops a different personality, probably one similar to Elizabeth's when she was young and reckless. She is also reckless and very reluctant to return to her old body. And then we've got Dennis Quaid as Harvey, your typical sleazy Hollywood producer. Smiling, glad-handing, two-faced, and greedy, he is looking to replace Elizabeth with somebody younger and sexier.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid was hired for this super last minute.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Ray Liotta was supposed to play in it, and he died 3 months before they started filming.
I didn't know. Did I know Ray Liotta died? Do I know who Ray Liotta is?
You definitely do if you saw like a picture of him.
Yeah. What was he in?
He's known for Goodfellas.
Oh, okay.
He was
Yeah.
in Cocaine Bear,
Okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Field of Dreams.
You know, one would think that somebody who co-hosts a movie review podcast might know who some actors and shit are.
I'm terrible with names.
I'm not just terrible with names, but like, unless you're somebody who stands out for a really specific reason, like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Nick Cage, my boy Ryan Gosling, I'm not going to fucking remember anybody.
Sure.
You know, I know that I knew who Demi Moore was, but like, I couldn't pull her face up until I actually saw the trailer for the movie. You know?
That's ridiculous. Also, Demi Moore looks insanely different than when she was younger.
It looks fucking great.
Yeah, because she's had a lot of work done.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, doesn't that kind of go with this whole
Yeah.
this whole movie? You know, for somebody who is known for being beautiful and all of that, kind of gutsy to do full frontal nudity where you're literally like poking at all of your flaws.
Yeah,
on
and they're
camera.
literally using lighting to like accentuate every like
they like
wrinkle and
highlight.
stuff.
They highlight the little bits of cellulite
She looks
and
great.
the like mark on her side, which I don't know if that's real or if that was put there for the movie.
As far as I know, everything's real in Demi Moore's body.
Okay, because I think they also put the mark on Margaret Qualley's body to match up with it, which would make sense.
Sue's body is mostly fake, but Demi Moore's, at least in the interviews, it seemed like it was actually her, which she looks great.
She does look great, but I also just got to say that I do really admire that for somebody who is known for being beautiful, going on camera and being like, we're going to present me in the most unflattering way possible.
Yeah, she was also
great, super gutsy.
I don't know because it wasn't mentioned in any of the interviews I listened to, but I don't know if it's part of the reason she was in this movie. But Demi Moore was in a fashion show that was about the extremities and absurdities of plastic surgery.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they like those divots that she has like kind of in her mouth. They like really accentuated those like and stuff and made her plastic surgery look worse on purpose.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think she regrets getting some of that work done?
Maybe she hasn't talked about it, which I wish they would have talked about it more. But I understand not wanting to bring up your personal
I do too.
shit. But it's like if you're going to be in a movie like this.
Well, and she really put her all into this.
Yeah.
Like her acting in this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, I can't identify. I'm a dude. I'm not an actor. I'm in my 40s. I have no way to identify with this. And even I was like, this is some gutsy shit she's doing here. Really admired how she just really attacked this role.
Well, she said she took it because it was unique and that she was like, oh, it's either going to do like super well or terrible.
Win-win either way. This is either going to revitalize my career or no one's going to notice.
Yeah. Or the low notice because it's so bad.
Yeah. Couple other people of note. We've got Robin Greer as the male nurse. It is a minor but important role as this is the guy who gets Elizabeth into the substance. And we've got Christian Eriksen as the man at the diner. This is an older man who spawned the male nurse. He is bitter and angry at his choice to use the substance and what it has cost him. He kind of warns Elizabeth about what is happening to her, but he's so fucking deranged about it. I don't know how seriously she takes it. I mean, I guess she takes it pretty seriously, but it seems like she's almost in denial about who he is until she sees that birthmark. And somebody else to note, and I don't know anything about this person, but Pierre Oliver Persson and his company Pop FX, who did the special effects. Like I said, don't know anything about them, but it feels like I gotta, give them props because holy shit, the job that they did on this movie was incredible.
Yeah, it's almost all practical effects.
Yeah,
they just use CGI to cover up like seams and stuff.
Yeah, and it is grotesque. Before we really get into this, just a quick note that we did have for anyone listening. This movie is fucking excellent. Just going in raw and experiencing it as it is without a whole bunch of spoilers and whatnot.
Yeah, just go watch it.
Yeah, do yourself a favor. Go watch it. Definitely come back. Come back here, like, subscribe, do reviews, comment, whatever.
It's not as available as a lot of other movies, though. So it should be fair to note that you're probably going to have to pay for it.
It's worth it, though.
Yeah.
It's so goddamn good.
Also, I mean, this is early, but it's on Mubi, which is also worth getting a trial for if you've never used Mubi. They distributed it.
Yeah.
And so they got the streaming rights to it. But if you've never done Mubi, get like a free trial for that, and it's worth checking out.
We're keeping it. There's a number of movies on there that I'd never even heard of that I'm very interested in.
Yeah, it's a weird streaming service because it's hard to explain, but it's like they curate every month. They don't have that many movies on there. I think it's 12.
When I looked, it was roughly 30.
Okay.
But like, it's very heavily curated.
And I think every month they change. There's 12 that are like featured.
Yeah, maybe.
Something like that. But it's very curated. So there's weird movies on there and some like really good ones that are like right now they're heavily advertising The Fall, which is a French movie that's done by the same guy that did The Cell. I've been
eyeballing that movie for a while, and I do want to watch it, but I know it's going to scare the shit out of me.
Which one? The Fall?
Wait, are we talking Fall or The Fall? Which one's which?
One is about somebody in a coma.
Is that The Fall?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's just really pretty.
Okay. I was thinking Fall, the fucking
Tower
thing.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie.
I haven't seen it either.
I don't think it's on there.
I haven't seen it.
I think that's an Amazon movie.
Yeah, I was surprised when you said this. But clearly I had these movies mixed up.
No, what I'm talking about is a very artsy film.
Okay. Yeah, that movie looks fucking terrifying to me because I'm afraid of heights.
Oh, yeah. No. This one's just a very pretty, like, surreal movie. Yeah. The Fall. They also have humanist vampire seeking suicidal consenting person. Great movie.
They have another one that I'm actually interested in called The People's Joker, which on one hand, I'm so fucking sick of the Joker.
It's a short though.
But I think it's a collection of shorts. But it seems like this really weird, artsy take on. This whole thing about movie, and we're not being paid to promote this at all. Nobody's paying us for shit.
No, but if you're going to watch The Substance, get a free trial and check out a movie.
And if you're really into movies, it's kind of like, I would liken it to like having a rotating Criterion collection.
Yeah. Except for they have like some newer unknown stuff.
Yeah.
And they just started, I think The Substance is the first movie that they distributed. So they just started doing distributing. So they should have a lot more exclusive newer movies.
We open with a test run of The Substance on an egg yolk, followed by an overhead view of the construction of a new star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We see the care that is put into its precise construction, followed by a montage of the celebration that follows, followed by the star's slow decline and degradation as people initially are fascinated and excited to see it, and then not so much, and then the weathering and the foot traffic destroys it, and people are spilling shit on it, and pretty much the entire movie just summed up in this opening scene.
Yeah, and it's perfect using those stars too, because like if you're not from like Hollywood or the California, if you've never been to LA, you think those stars are like in this really nice area.
No, they are not.
And stuff. Yeah, like Hollywood's a shithole.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of just like liquor stores and like weed shops and then people smoking meth with a cop like 2 steps away from them. Like
actual things. So what she is referring to are things that we actually witnessed and were joking about when we went to LA last year.
Literally a guy just smoking meth like right out of the open and a cop right there. And you're just
I think the cop looked at him and was just like,
he's not doing anything. I mean, he wasn't doing anything else wrong.
I mean, yeah, smoking meth in public, probably not great, but he didn't try to stab any of us, so it's
much
all
more
fine.
Bigger things to deal with. And also, like...
Well, but the cop wasn't dealing with those either.
Sure, but, but it's like, yeah, this area is such a shithole. Also, those stars are like a scam, I think.
What makes you say that?
Okay, to get one of those stars, you don't have to be like important at all. You just have to be, you can be anything in the industry within 5 years, and then somebody just has to like offer to pay for it.
How much do they cost?
It's like $10,000 a year or something, because then they maintain them.
So since Katie's an independent filmmaker, can we just toss $10,000 down, get a star made?
If she was in SAG, I think you have to be part of... Or no, because that's just the actors, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be an actor because it's director and everything. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. But you have to be like, you have to be a certain thing, and then you have to be in it for at least 5 years.
Okay.
And then it's just like any company or person can nominate you, and as long as they'll pay for it. And a lot of people who have those stars, they nominated themselves and then paid for it.
Oh, I'm sure.
They're not like there's no committee of like experts like being like, oh wow.
Well, no, you're talking about this, and I'm thinking, man, would that be like a good promotional tool for Katie's career to just throw her on there and then have people be like, who the fuck is this person? Is some random girls on the Walk of Fame? And
like I said, there is some stipulations, but I don't think it's anyone. I think you have to make like a movie.
She's working on that, so
5 years. So
yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
Anywho,
not that long.
No.
I could be wrong about years, but I believe it's 5 years.
Yeah, we'll have to look into this.
Either way,
we'll
my point
we
is
promise to look into this, and we're not going to actually follow up with it, so...
I'm just
Sorry,
saying, my point is they make it seem like it's this big honor that's been bestowed upon you. When a lot of these people, yes, it was an honor bestowed upon them from their friends and colleagues in the industry.
Although, to be fair, so are the Oscars and all that shit.
Yeah, but at least there's some committee that we have said is important for some bullshit reason is voting on it. Where this is like, no, it's just like, you could do it yourself. And people do. And I'm like, well, that's not very special if you just went, I want to get a star, so I'm going to pay for it. And then again, it's in this shithole area. It's not even a nice area.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I don't know if you already knew, but like I always did imagine it being outside of important movie theaters and stuff. And then
I've been there.
And then we go walking through LA, and I'm like walking on these stars, and I'm like, the fuck is this? Is this like some half-assed wannabe Walk of Fame? And you're like, no, this is the real deal. I'm like, this? Like we're like standing outside of a head shop.
Yeah. No, even when you're in front of the Chinese theater, unless they're having a premiere, that place is just littered with drunks, drug addicts, and then baffled tourists.
Yeah, which is kind of shown in this scene.
Yeah.
I particularly love when the guy drops half of his sandwich on it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ugh.
That's a bummer for the sandwich.
With the cost of sandwiches in the expensive parts of California, that is actually a tragedy.
Yeah, it was probably like a $10 sandwich.
Oh, man. Now I'm just thinking, like, what a bummer it would be if I dropped half a Luigi's sandwich on,
it'd be very
the Walk of Fame. No, my Italian! So we move on to the filming of an episode of Sparkle Your Life, an aerobics television show starring Elizabeth Sparkle. After shooting wraps, Elizabeth finds that the women's restroom is out of order, so she quickly ducks into the men's room stall, just in time to hear her producer, Harvey, coming in and talking mad shit about her while he's on the phone, criticizing her age and her looks and saying she needs to be replaced with somebody younger and hotter, and unsurprisingly, she is devastated by this.
This is also like, it's funny when this is happening, and it's like this throughout the whole movie, but it's like also he's talking shit about her age and like how she looks, but while we have like a fisheye lens as close as possible view of his face.
Oh yeah,
while he's
it's like
taking
a grotesque shot.
Yeah. And he's like taking a piss while he's like having this conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
It's also worth noting, not as important to the story, but a nice little note that this bathroom is clearly a nod to the bathroom in the Overlook Hotel of The Shining.
Yeah.
And there's also a carpet in the hallway that, again, doesn't look anything like that, but is clearly...
It's the same colors and it's a repeating pattern.
Yeah, it's such a bonkers pattern too that it immediately brings it to mind, like, oh, they're trying to invoke this spirit, not trying to copy it.
Ass hallway. And
yeah. The number of references to other great horror movies in this is really phenomenal, and we're not going to be able to talk about all of them, but
probably didn't even notice all of them.
Oh, I'm sure. But just the architectural references to The Shining, I thought were really cool. Yeah. Oh God. That fucking fisheye of him, and he's taking a leak.
Yeah, he's pissing.
So you're like watching him talk all this shit about how disgusting the Elizabeth Sparkle, Demi Moore, who is still stupid hot, is, while his ugly ass face is like peeing on you. Like he's literally peeing on the audience.
No, Demi Moore is still so attractive. She's actually 60 and playing someone who's turning 50. She's 61.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Well, not that there's
what was she just supposed to be 50?
Yeah, that was the whole thing. Once you turned 50, you're out.
Oh, that's right.
That was
I'm going to mention something specifically
that's
about that.
And not that like I think 61 and 50 are like that huge. Once you hit those ages, it's not that huge of a difference. But it's like she's playing someone still like 11 years younger.
I mean, you can still tell when somebody's aged 10 years.
Sometimes, it's really hard nowadays. Some people age wildly different.
Yeah, they do. But, that whole thing where people are like, well, people show you like pictures of a president at the beginning of their term and then like at the end of their term. And you're like, look how much this job aged them. And I'm like, that's 8 fucking years of somebody who's like middle-aged at youngest. Of course they're going to look older. I'm sure the job is stressful as shit. That's not why Obama's hair went white. His hair went white because he's in his fucking 50s.
Sure.
Like, come on, get it together. Shortly after this conversation, Elizabeth and Harvey have a lunch meeting that makes the fucking Denthor food scene in Return of the King looked delightful and appetizing in comparison. This scene
Everybody talks about it.
made me not want to fucking eat food for like 2 days.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
It is so gross. And I do really love how there's this part where Harvey says, at 50, it stops. And he's waving around a flaccid, floppy shrimp.
Yeah.
It's just, the symbolism in this movie is so grotesque and hilarious at the same time. Shrimp is one of my favorite foods. And I was just like, I'm not fucking touching shrimp for a month after this. Floppy shrimp dick.
Yeah.
Harvey stuffing his face full of food with these gross looking close-ups.
Yeah, it's all very close up.
It's all very close up and
wet.
very grotesque.
And he's like talking while he's eating, so it's like
Flo, the problem here is that you're old and ugly. Yeah. He lets her know that she is going to be replaced on the show because she is too old. One thing that I was noticing when I was watching this movie is it really reminded me, the way the cinematography is done reminded me of this bizarre combination of Terry Gilliam. If Terry Gilliam was working for fucking Trauma, because everything's goddamn gross, but Terry Gilliam's films always made me uncomfortable because everything looks claustrophobic and there's always like too direct or too close of a camera shot. And this movie very much has that same, like, everything is claustrophobic even when the areas are huge. The grotesqueness of the food and people's bodies is really well done.
I watched a video and their whole thing is is German expressionism coming back, and they were arguing that this is very similar to German expressionism. Of course it's not black and white.
That was only because of the technology at the time.
Yeah, they're like, but everything is very like heightened, exaggerated. It's like, we know this is supposed to be our world, but it clearly looks nothing like it.
Yeah.
Like everything's like bright and disjointed. And
all of the senses are so heightened in this movie, and it's so simultaneously gorgeous and grotesque and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So after lunch, distracted by seeing her face being removed from a billboard, Elizabeth is in a pretty bad car accident from which she miraculously escapes mostly uninjured. There is a nurse who is paying attention to what she's actually saying and what's going on with her body, who realizes how upset she is about getting older and what's happening with her career. So he slips a USB stick into her pocket that has an ad for the substance. This is basically how the substance works. It's a lot more complicated, but this is all you really need to know. After injecting the substance, a younger, sexier you is birthed from your back. You spend 1 week as your younger self, and then 1 week as your older self. There's more to it than that, but that's all you really need to know. Elizabeth places her order and retrieves the substance from a hidden warehouse in some shitty back alley.
Well, this is interesting because there's a door and it only opens enough so you have to crawl under it. So it's like it's further demeaning you to get the substance. Like if you want this, you're going to have to literally crawl on your knees for it.
Also, it can be like the third movie in a row where we mentioned Dante's Inferno, but there is that part entering hell where you have to crawl on your belly.
Yeah. The other thing to note here is that it is implied that there's only her and that guy that are taking the substance.
Is that implied?
Yes.
Because there's a bunch of there's
only two have numbers on them. Oh. There's a bunch of lock boxes, but only two actually have numbers.
I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
After taking the substance, Sue is birthed from Elizabeth's back. Sue auditions for Elizabeth's now vacant aerobics host spot and becomes an overnight sensation, with the show being renamed to Pump It Up. The writing in this is fucking genius.
Yeah.
As time goes on, Sue lives the life of a young, reckless, confident star. Elizabeth, on the other hand, becomes reclusive, depressed, and deepens the self-loathing that has brought her to this point to begin with.
Yeah, there's one thing I will say, like my biggest negative about this movie. I don't feel like it ever seems like they're the same person or they have the same memories. Like they seem completely unaware of what happens the next day.
I think so too, and this kind of gets into
it's like, because if you're not experiencing things, what's the point?
I think it's deliberate, and I think that it's supposed to be a misrepresentation on the dealer's part. But it also goes into sort of a separate thing that is apart from beauty standards, but something that I think about probably more than I should, which is the whole idea that has been coming up in science fiction a lot for a while about like achieving immortality by uploading your consciousness to a server or something. It's such a dumb fucking idea because it's not you.
Yeah, I'm like, you're dead.
Yeah, you're
just
still
a program
dead.
now.
Yeah.
You don't have those memories. It's just a program going on thinking it's you.
Right. But a lot of people like can't wrap their heads around that and are like,
it drives me nuts.
no, I'll
hate
be
that.
immortal. And also, I'll just tell you this, I would never get into a fucking Star Trek style transporter. Because as far as I'm concerned, every time somebody steps into one of those, they fucking die and there's just a copy of them that appears somewhere else. Now, if you create a teleporter that works on a portal system where you're stepping through a gate, sure, I can buy folding space-time to a certain point that you can just walk through. But if your body's being disassembled and reassembled somewhere else, it's not you. If your consciousness is being uploaded, it's not fucking you. And if a clone is spawned out of your back,
it's not a clone.
It's kind of a clone.
No, because it's not what she looked like when she was younger. They have different color eyes.
But not like, they're not like that. It's kind of like a twin clone.
Yeah, but I don't think it's supposed to look exactly like, because otherwise they would comment on that, and they don't.
Well, I don't think they would, because the whole point is that she's already forgotten at 50.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to literally be her younger self. Like I said, they have different colored eyes and shit.
I guess. I'm pretty sure it is. I will disagree with you on that, but not super important.
No, because I think it is.
Well, it's a younger.
Absolutely, people would be like, "Oh, you look like her." Nobody does.
So many people look the same in those roles anyway,
and people comment on it.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't think it's supposed to.
I mean, it could also be another misrepresentation of the substance, because they do very clearly say a younger, more perfect you.
A younger, but it's a representation. I don't think it's literally your younger self.
The whole fucking thing is so weird. And the substance is clearly a lie in a lot of regards.
Yeah. Like, let's say everything works out with the substance. What's the end goal? Your other self. Well, one,
you get to relive.
Your first self would die at some point.
Yeah.
And so the younger one just dies off. It's like, yeah, you get to relive the same thing of like, you've already... I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but part of the thing with this is...
No, go on the tangent. Let's get into this.
Either way, whatever you're getting out of this is a lie. Because you've already gotten success and stuff. Like, the way Elizabeth was thrown aside because of age, that does fucking suck. But it's like, at the same time, you're still successful. You're still a star. Now you can just go live your life. But what you really want is the attention.
I mean, she's still the fucking hottest 50-year-old in the planet, and she's rich as shit.
But so what is the end goal here? It's like, okay, best case scenario, you have this younger self that also ages out and then is forgotten.
Yeah.
So you're just dooming yourself to the same fate while watching it with that knowledge on the side. So it's like, it just seems more torturous than anything.
So I think that's where we get into
And then she's not even getting the benefit of actually being young.
So I think that's where we get into the obvious secondary allegory of drugs. As flashy as it is, the substance is clearly being dealt by some shady dude or organization or something. She has to go through this scummy back alley and crawl through this like door in a hidden warehouse to get it. It's obviously not legal. Nobody fucking knows about it, you know?
Yeah.
And everything that it promises sounds great, but is a lie. It's sort of the same thing about becoming a fucking cokehead. It's all fun. It promises you more time, you know?
I don't think this has anything to do with drugs. I could see the allegory, but I don't think it's meant to be there.
I think I think it is, but I think it's like secondary, because there are a lot of drugs in Hollywood culture, and particularly something like cocaine, which is often used to give you more time in your day and things like that.
Or I would argue Ozempic right now.
We won't get into that on the show, though.
I'm just saying that's the big thing in Hollywood to maintain like some beauty standards.
Hollywood. Yeah.
I wasn't talking about you. I was just saying in Hollywood.
Fuck you, Jess.
It's a huge thing to maintain beauty standards and to have your ideal weight is to go.
I could see that. Fortunately for my case, there isn't anything, at least not that I've noticed so far, that was like a lie or a broken promise. The doctors were very clear that this was going to suck, you know, because this is all being closely monitored. So none of the more unpleasant aspects of it have been a surprise.
No, but I would say like kind of it's the opposite of the substance, but it's more like they're perpetuating a lie, because a lot of these people obviously are on Ozempic, but they're saying it to everyone that they did it on their own.
Oh,
and
right.
Total bullshit. Even like all the plastic surgery people do, it's all the lying people do, and like people know you're lying.
Right. But even when people know you're lying, and honestly, that's something we're really going to get into in the Neon Demon. You kind of buy into it anyway.
Yeah.
Especially with plastic surgery.
Yeah.
1 week Sue brings home a dude to bang, but her body starts to give out on her and she needs to switch. She's being young, being reckless, thinks she can squeeze a little more fun out of this, and she really wants to get laid. So instead of doing the switch that she's supposed to do, she steals another dose of stabilizer from Elizabeth's back. After switching back, Elizabeth is horrified to find that one of her fingers has grotesquely withered and aged.
It's a little witchy finger.
Yeah, that was what I thought too. Yeah. And it is like, it's funny too, because it really does just look like it's aged a lot.
Yeah.
But on the rest of her hand, it looks grotesque.
Yeah.
Once again, this movie does a really great job of making everything look grotesque.
Yeah.
Elizabeth calls her substance dealer and is informed that this cannot be fixed and that the balance must be maintained or she will age faster and her body will be irreparably damaged. Elizabeth goes to a diner and is confronted by a man at the diner who is an older version of the male nurse.
We know this because there's a birthmark on his hand.
Yeah, and it's the same birthmark that the nurse had. I feel like she pretty quickly knows who he is, but is like trying to...
She notices the birthmark.
Yeah, like for the first like minute that he's ranting at her, I think she's not letting herself realize it, and then the birthmark makes it impossible.
Yeah, because I don't even think she's considered that there's other people out there.
Yeah.
Or at least this one dude. Like I said, there was only 2 numbers, so it's implied that it's just them.
That's so weird. I'm gonna have to look that up. But yeah, he starts off with saying just generally bitter, creepy shit about how it gets longer and worse, those 7 days where you have to be old, blah, 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 blah. But then he asks her a more important question. Has she started eating away at you yet? And at this point, Elizabeth runs away.
Yeah, which I do like that it's a guy who's the other one that's doing the substance, because this movie is very much from the female perspective and about like, you know, female beauty standards. But I do think having the other person be a guy just nods to like, yes, men also have to deal with this. But
yeah, that's
not the story we're telling, but yes, men.
Yeah. It's very different with men and in a lot of ways not as extreme.
Yeah.
But we do have our own stupid standards that we're supposed to live up to that we can't.
Again, having it be a guy is acknowledging that.
Yeah. The movie as a whole is so well thought out.
Yeah.
That actually didn't really occur to me, but it makes perfect sense hearing you say it. Hoping to gain some kind of happiness as her old self, Elizabeth contacts an old friend from high school, Fred, who had given her his number earlier in the movie, and schedules a date with him. At the last moment, however, her despair and self-loathing get the best of her, and she applies, removes, and reapplies her makeup over and over.
It's so sad. This is actually very sad.
This was a really depressing scene.
Yeah, in there. Just trying to get ready and feel nice. Because you're going out to something and it's totally like, nothing looks right. Nothing's right.
Have you missed like an actual event doing this?
No, but I've felt like shit going to stuff before.
Was it a depression thing or just a self-consciousness thing? If you don't mind me asking this
Probably
on the podcast.
just self-consciousness.
Okay. This is something that I obviously can't identify with personally. So I can't identify with the idea of missing something or spiraling out this hard because of perceived imperfections. But I also always feel better when I'm out and about. As you know, I love being around a lot of people, ridiculously social at all times. Even when I do get self-conscious about the idea of going out by myself, you know, Katie will always just tell me, just go, you're just going to make friends wherever you go anyway.
Yeah.
And true, not always like permanent friends,
sure.
Sometimes, but I always do end up hanging out with somebody for the night.
Yeah.
On the other hand, being overweight, I am constantly self-conscious about that. So I do put a lot of work into like my hair and how I dress and things like that. But none of that gets rid of the gut. So I guess I half understood that or half identified with this, but couldn't imagine it getting so bad that I would like
ghost someone.
Yeah.
Because the other thing, he's like texting and he's being nice like the whole time. It's just like, oh, you're running late. Like,
yeah,
are you okay? Like,
and he seems like a real genuine person. Like he doesn't seem like he's just overly excited because she's a celebrity.
No.
He seems that he actually likes her and wants to catch up and get
well, he still just sees her as the pretty girl from high school.
Yeah.
More than a celebrity.
Right. His intentions don't even seem like like he's hoping to bang the pretty girl from high school. Like, obviously, he probably would love to, but it does seem like he just wants to catch up and doesn't have like some ulterior motive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is really sad because this is also really the only like human connection she could have had in this movie.
Yeah.
And drops the ball.
Yeah.
As the film goes on, Elizabeth and Sue grow to absolutely despise each other. Sue regularly disregards the switching schedule, causing irreversible aging and damage to Elizabeth's body, and is disgusted by Elizabeth's binge-eating, reclusiveness, and self-destructive behavior. The thing that's really happening here is Elizabeth's self-loathing is now being manifested in the real world by her two bodies being at war with each other.
Yeah. I also wonder if it's supposed to be implied. She got a French cookbook from Dennis Quaid's character when he fired her.
Yeah.
Being like, here, get a hobby. But
which is so mean.
Yeah, it is so mean.
So mean.
But I also wonder if it's supposed to be like why she gets so obsessed with food is that like when you're this like skinny, hot celebrity, you can't indulge.
And suddenly you've been given a cookbook on the world's richest foods.
Yeah, and so you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to eat as much as possible.
I'm going to eat all that. Well, and also, you know, as far as she thinks she understands, she does have this younger, hot body that she gets to go to at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Although, again, I think it's questionable from the start whether there is actually one consciousness involved there.
Yeah.
And clearly there is not by this point. It's really wild whenever they switch and see the damage that the other one has done and are surprised.
Well, I was going to say, and they literally just leave their past self, like, just laying in the bathroom for 7 days, just not even nicely.
Yeah.
They're just literally their discarded body just on the floor.
Yeah. Like,
I feel like I would at least give him a pillow.
I would put mine in the bed.
Yeah, a blanket or something.
You know, maybe because of the grotesqueries of what's going on, I might put some, put some rubber sheets on there.
The eventual closet they make to put the body in, but still, like, why can't they be comfortable in there?
Yeah, you got to imagine that you're like,
gotta be all cramped when you wake up.
Yeah, you would have the ultimate crick in your neck. You'd have fucking bed sores all over the place.
Yeah, because I can't express how much they literally are just dumped on the floor. They just fall over, and then the other person just leaves them there. Yeah.
It literally looks like there's just a corpse laying on the floor. Like if a cop walked in, the other person would be immediately arrested. Yeah. So eventually, Sue has had absolutely enough of Elizabeth, so she starts stockpiling as much stabilizer fluid as she can and just refuses to switch back. We fast forward about 3 months, and Sue has landed the coveted and prestigious gig of hosting the network's New Year's Eve program, but the day before, she runs out of stabilizer, and she has no choice but to switch back to her original body so that it can begin generating more of the stabilizing fluid. After switching, Elizabeth wakes up in a very aged and damaged, deformed body. Now,
it's like literally a hunchback crone.
Like an elderly, grotesque. Like she's grotesquely hunchbacked too.
You know what I'm saying? It's literally what, like those old movies, The Three Witches.
Oh, the Weird Sisters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I would be livid with my younger self.
Yeah.
Really desperate to stop this deterioration, she orders a serum that will terminate the younger body, but she loses her nerve and fucks everything up, leading to both Elizabeth and Sue being conscious at the same time. And now it's pretty clear, not the same person.
Yeah, but they need each other to survive.
Right. After a pretty crazy fight, and this was actually a solidly good action sequence between the two of them. Real brutal. Sue manages to kill Elizabeth, but now with no stabilizer and seemingly exacerbated by the death of her original body, Sue starts to deteriorate and her body starts to fall apart really badly. I thought this was going to give me nightmares when all her teeth started falling out.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, ooh, Glenn's going to love this.
Oh, God. Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, God damn. I'm shuddering just thinking about it. This was horrifying, and I really like this sequence in the hallway where she's talking to Harvey, and she's trying not to let him see that all of her teeth just fell out.
Yeah.
And he's like, pretty girls should always smile. And she gives him that like half closed mouth smile, because I swear to God, this is like a literal nightmare that I've had. Not that I'm not the pretty girls part, but the part where my teeth have fallen out. I'm trying not to let people know.
Yeah.
Literally had this nightmare. Hated this part. Loved this part, but hated this part.
Yeah.
It was like watching Hereditary, where I know it's great and it's really getting to me. So I love it in that regard, but it's really great and it's getting to me. So I hate it. So desperate, Sue injects herself with a leftover substance, hoping to create a younger, more perfect version of herself that isn't falling apart. But as we all know, a copy of a copy doesn't work out. And instead of a younger version of herself, the new body that emerges from Sue's back is a monstrously deformed, grotesquely mutilated body with both Elizabeth and Sue's faces. And this is where we get
Elizabeth's face is like on the back.
Yeah, which is very funny.
Yeah.
But this is where we get the newest version of her character. So we've got Margaret Qualley as Monstro Eliza Sue, a hulking, grotesque, monstrous, Cronenberg-esque mutated body with the faces of both Elizabeth and Sue, the end result of the loathing and hatred between the two of them. And at this point, her mind is as gone to shit as her body. We don't spend much time with her, but she is very delusional, imagining the world around her as if she were a very successful Sue, beloved and adored, but that is not what's happening.
And a boob falls out of her.
Doesn't it fall out of like her eye?
I don't think it's her. A boob falls.
It's kind of hard to tell. A boob with an umbilical cord does fall out of her. And whatever orifice that is, I thought it was her eye, but really she just has a bunch of random orifices now.
Yeah.
So
she's kind of blobby.
Yeah.
Like her putting her earrings on her little blobby.
Oh, I
nubs.
know. And like just the horrible breathing and
Margaret Qualley's really in there too.
What was that?
Margaret Qualley.
Oh yeah, she is.
She's really in there.
There's a part where the director gets in the suit later, but during this scene, even the first time I watched this, I just on like impulse just whipped out the notepad and wrote "Suck it, Cronenberg."
Yeah,
because this is grotesque and wonderful. Monstroso Eliza Sue superglues a picture of a younger Elizabeth's face to her front-facing face and dons Sue's dress, ripping it to shreds as she does so. She returns to the studio, walking out to a horrified audience and some very confused dancers on stage who are desperately trying to maintain a smile. This scene is so funny. Yeah. It's also, there's something that they do constantly in this movie where they contrast some form of grotesque imagery with really nice women's asses. And so they're like and in this scene in particular, they're bouncing between this like blob-like thing, and then the camera just shows a close-up of one of the dancers' butts. I also found this funny because all of the dancers are topless, and this is supposed to be like network television. Yeah. So the laws of reality were really not a consideration in this movie, but it is great. So she returns to the studio, walks out to him, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. After vomiting up a titty with an umbilical cord, the audience really freaks out. And one thing I found interesting here is how the audience reaction is so strongly divided along the lines of gender. At first, we just see people reacting one at a time, and it's like a silent audience, and one person does something. Every single woman who reacts does nothing but scream. Yeah. And every man who reacts points and yells to attack her. Mostly yelling, "Shoot the monster." And this whole scene goes real fucking Frankenstein. After being attacked, she mutates a little more, and this is actually the part where the director puts on the suit. So she mutates more and basically starts spraying a fire hose of blood all over the audience, the crew, and the dancers.
Which is so funny.
Yeah, and so this at this point, the director had a camera in one hand, was wearing like most of the suit with her arm in the hose, and was spraying everybody herself. And I mean, I don't know what it was actually like on set, but I personally just imagine her laughing her ass off the whole time.
It's gotta be fun.
I mean, I would have so much fun with that. But yeah, this scene is also great because for a moment, the movie just straight up turns into a Gwar concert. Yeah, it is like,
kind of out of left field.
But it's so batshit and so bonkers, and the music turns all heavy metal for this. I legitimately think at some point, either the special effects, someone on the special effects team, or the director, or somebody was like, "Hey, what if we just made this a Guar show for a minute? You've never seen Guar, right?
No, but I'm aware.
Yeah. So, hundreds of gallons of fake blood.
Yeah.
Often sprayed hose-like into the audience like this. So after spraying this fire hose of blood all over the audience, crew and the dancers, Elizasu Monstroso runs away before her body just collapses and blows apart on the street, leaving only Elizabeth's face amongst a blob of formless flesh. The Elizabeth blob crawls over to her star on the Walk of Fame before melting into bloody goo, sits there overnight, and then is cleaned up by a floor scrubber.
Yeah. But she's smiling the whole time because she finally found peace.
Yeah. Well, she's also clearly hallucinating still. Because we see like the sky and
sparkles are falling down.
Sparkles are falling down, and she's hearing people cheering for her and how much they love her. And yeah, this movie, so fun and so sad and so gross. This movie has fucking everything.
Yeah.
And it's not even the type of movie that like should actually be scary. But like I said, I've had literal nightmares.
Some people question whether it would be considered a horror movie. I would, but I can see the question.
Body horror to me is some of the most horrifying horror.
Well, it's also like an existential crisis.
And existential horror to me is the most terrifying horror. So
I would say it's a horror movie, but I understand the argument if somebody were to make one.
If somebody were to make one, I don't know that I'd be able to successfully argue them out of it, but to me, this is 100% a horror movie. And while it doesn't scare me in that way, it does touch on a lot of fears that I really do have. And that hallway scene scared the shit out of me because I really did it brought me right back to actual nightmares I've had, and I've had so many really awful experiences with dentists and orthodontists and all of that.
So I watched a bunch of like interviews with this, and one thing the director like really made a super strong point on is that this movie is about the violence we inflict on ourselves.
Okay.
It's not it's obviously about the pressures that women have to do for beauty standards and stuff, but it's more about everything that happens Elizabeth does to herself. Yeah. It wasn't done to her. Like, she could have just went and retired.
She could have went and retired and probably been happy.
Yeah.
I bet she would have had a lovely time meeting up with her high school friend.
Yeah.
And probably could have started, like, a new, relatively peaceful life.
Yeah. And it is about plastic surgery. It is about, but again, it's like all these horrifying things that we do to ourselves. Because if you really see people recovering from plastic surgery, it's fucking insane what people do. Just for beauty standards,
Yeah, yeah.
There's lots of reasons to have plastic surgery that are legitimate, but when you're just trying to maintain an ideal that you're never going to be able to maintain.
Like I briefly touched on at the beginning of this session and definitely touched on more while we were talking about Seven, I absolutely understand that there's very valid reasons for plastic surgery. If you've been damaged and you need to do some reconstruction, if you're transgender and you need to be more of your authentic self, if you've got something dangerous happening because of your weight and you just can't get it off any other way. I get all these things, but it is hard for me to wrap my head around the point at which somebody's face looks like a mask of themselves or like a fucking purge mask, and it happens all the time.
Or now all these celebrities getting plastic surgery, everyone's like praising Lindsay Lohan right now. Oh, she came back. She's had a fuck ton of plastic surgery. She basically just looks like Taylor Swift. And I'm like, you don't look like yourself anymore.
What did Lindsay Lohan look like?
Christina Aguilera also came out. She had a bunch of work done. And I just don't. All these people having plastic surgery, and even though plastic surgery is getting more advanced and stuff, I don't think these people look good. They all just look like clones of each other. Like, when people are getting all this plastic surgery, they don't look unique anymore. Now they just all look alike. Everyone's just trying to look like the Kardashians. Everyone's just trying to look like Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and after enough facial plastic surgery, they all still look like they're wearing masks.
But then also I think about like how fucked up it must be to be Margaret Qualley, because watching all these interviews with her, she talks about how she has to, like, she wore fake boobs. She did like hella workout to get more like a bigger butt and to get like curves. And to me, it seemed like she was struggling to get, so she's like, so I could have the body that was envisioned. And it seemed like she was trying really hard to say, not to say the perfect body, because I needed the perfect body. But making a movie like this and then having to alter your body to be the more perfect, pretty one, I'm like, that's gotta fuck with you in some ways, right?
I mean, it's gotta, but My understanding from talking to you about this before is that they wanted to be like a cartoonish level of perfection.
They wanted it to look plastic and fake.
Yeah. So one would hope that she was able to compartmentalize that enough.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's impossible.
Or, 10 years from now, she'll just be another plastic surgery disaster.
That's what it's, it's like that is interesting. Like, was Demi Moore going to still get plastic surgery and all this stuff? Is because they haven't talked about their own personal experiences, and that's what I would like to know more, is the actors. Has their opinions on beauty standards changed? Because they seem to agree that going through all these like brutal things just to try to maintain ideal look that's never going to happen is bad and torturous for people. It's like you're just torturing yourself.
Yeah.
And so it will be interesting to see what they end up doing in the future. Not that it's any business of anybody's. But...
Well, no. I mean, as I think I've made clear, I don't care about any of these celebrities' personal lives, but I would be interested in seeing how it affects the work that they take in the future.
Yeah.
And I am, and even though I'm not interested in any of their personal lives, I am always interested in artistic intent and things like that. So I would love to see how it changes their lives. They all seem to take this movie
very seriously. Like, this is very important for all of them. So that's why I'm more like, I would have liked to hear more of Demi's personal things about going through plastic surgery and how she feels about it now.
I do remember, I did read one interview with her. I couldn't tell you most of it, but there was one line that really did stick out to me, which was, I was aware that this was not going to be about me looking good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for somebody who's lived with those beauty standards for so long, that's so fucking ballsy.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't, that she did a fashion show where she was all like about that stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know if she's had it change. I mean, I know Courtney Cox has even come out and is like, yeah, I went too far with plastic surgery.
I don't know what she looks like now.
Because that's the thing is that
although I can't really remember what she looked like before.
She looks so bad. But that's why because everyone was commenting on how she looked in the last Scream. But it's also just how different. It's like you don't look like the same. Even Demi Moore, she doesn't look like she does when she's younger.
Right.
She looks pretty, but she does not look like her younger self. And that's like beauty trends change. So you may get like all this plastic surgery to fit like some ideal, and then 5 years from now that won't be considered. They'll be considered trendy.
I mean,
it's like people who get like makeup tattooed on.
Okay, yeah, but I don't think like the shape of your nose ever
it does.
It gets trendy.
Yes, it does.
No,
100%.
What's the current nose shape that people want? Wait, did you just show me your nose?
No. I was just like, what are you talking about? They want really straight. They want it to be upturned a little bit. There is absolutely an ideal for noses.
Oh, no. I'm not saying there's not an ideal. I'm saying not a trend. Like, as far as I know, that's always been the ideal.
No.
I mean, was there ever a time when, like, hook noses were popular?
Yes.
When?
It was like the 17th century, but yes. I'm just saying beauty standards change. Like being fat used to be the ideal beauty standard.
Yeah, I
because
know.
people were starving to death. So like if you had food, it's like, damn, you look good. In Japan, it used to be a beauty standard was painting your teeth black.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm just saying beauty standards do change.
I mean, no, I know
like the Kardashians isn't going to be popular forever.
I know that beauty standards change. It's just hard for me to imagine the idea of like the beauty standard of bone structure changing.
Absolutely does.
Body fat percentage, build.
Whether high cheekbones are sometimes in, other times they're not. Do you want big doe eyes? Do you want almond eyes? All that are trends. And people have surgery to get their eye shape changed all the time.
That seems awful.
That's what I'm saying. And again, it's all you're just going it off of a current standard.
Yeah.
And skin only stretches so much, so eventually you're just you got what you got, man. Because the whole thing
that's when you look like you've got a purge mask on your face.
The ponytail facelift is popular right now.
What is a ponytail facelift?
It's literally they take like the way your scalp would be pulled back if you put your head and hair in a really tight ponytail, that's where they're shredding. So it makes your eyes more oblong. It's about changing your eye shape as well as the way. It's hard to explain because I don't know a ton about plastic surgery. But
I think I know what you're talking about. I think Madonna did that for a long time.
Madonna has currently did it. Grimes has done it. But like it's to the point people can go like, ooh, I can tell you've had it done because of your eyes.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. That's a trendy thing. That's going to go away. Eventually it's going to be like, I can tell you had that done because of your eyes.
Well, if Grimes has done it, we know that it's in poor taste.
But yeah, so basically be kind to yourself.
I think that's a good lesson that everybody should learn Be kind to yourself. It's not that bad. We all have bodies.
And like I said, especially in the context of this movie, she had success. She had the money. Still does have the look. She's just not on TV anymore. That sucks, but move on.
Yeah. And, we all have bodies. They're all what they are. It's okay to love yourself even with your flaws.
Yeah. So I already mentioned this at the beginning, but I'll mention it again at the end. You can watch this on Movie. I don't think it's changing anywhere.
Because MUBI.
Yeah, Mubi, MUBI, which they do have I think it's a week-long free trial, and I suggest people try that. And then you can also rent it on Fandango, and that's it.
Amazon Prime, you can rent it.
Okay, but you can't rent it in most of the other places. You
right.
normally can't. It's only $5.99 to rent also.
And who would you recommend this movie for?
I think most people, even if you're not into horror, you just have to be okay with body horror. So until the end, I don't think it's that bad. So I don't know. I have a high tolerance for that.
I think what I would say is that I would recommend it to people who are okay with body horror and who are down to go on an absolutely wild goddamn ride.
Yeah.
Because holy shit, this is a wild movie. It's funny too, for everything that we just said, as you know, I struggle with getting older. I hate aging. My greatest fear in life is that someday I'll be a fucking stuck in my ways, like have a hard time walking old person, which sucks because experiencing that fear is like the best outcome I can hope for. As somebody who does...
Aging is a privilege.
It is.
The vast majority of people don't get to age.
I know. And it bums me out that that's like literally my greatest fear. Well, that and the idea of oblivion and no longer existing after death. But
I don't see how that's a fear because you won't be aware of it. It's not like you're like hanging out in darkness.
I know. I think that what I experience as fear thinking about that is more how my brain is interpreting the cognitive dissonance of non-existence because literally all I know is existence. I don't think that I'm going to be miserable in non-existence. I just can't comprehend it, and things that I can't comprehend often frighten me. The unknown is the scariest thing. It's the entire reason why I love cosmic horror so much. Is because so much of it is outside of my ability to comprehend and thus is legitimately often scary to me.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noted in here, I am really thrilled with the state of horror right now. Having gotten to see the Terrifier movies in theater, which are just so fucking brutal, seeing unique new movies like this and like Talk to Me, and also just
Cuckoo.
And yeah, Cuckoo.
That's why people are like, oh, there's no original ideas anymore. I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah.
Totally not true.
Longlegs. And then even for things that maybe aren't necessarily as original, but just legitimate, brilliant works of cinema like Pearl. Even really like divisive things like Skinamarink, which I have told you is honestly the most scared I've ever been watching a horror movie, which we'll explain in more context someday. It makes sense. But yeah, I feel like we are currently living in like a new golden age of horror. And I really hope everyone listening to this knows and appreciates that. Yeah. Because it's pretty fucking cool. It's nice when you know how good you have it. Like I've really enjoyed the last 15 years of being into beer and knowing that it's absolutely the best time to be into beer that it's ever been. Although that's been declining for a little while and will continue to. Yeah.
Which this director has another movie called Revenge. Have you seen it?
I haven't. Katie has been wanting to watch it for a while, and I keep just forgetting about it. But it's I think it's on my list on Shudder. But I didn't know it was the same director. Yeah. And now that I know that, I will absolutely want to check that out because this movie has thoroughly blown me away.
It's a rape revenge movie, but it is more from a feminist lens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because usually rape revenge movies, not all of them, but most of them are like excuses for a man to get revenge for a woman. Like things like I Spit on Your Grave are not the most common types of rape revenge movies. It's usually like a dad or a husband who's going off on the fucking hunt, which is, the most common argument that I've heard against involving rape in movies or TV or anything of that nature is that a lot of people feel that it's unnecessary, but a lot of people also feel that more often than not, it's not about what the victim goes through, but it's about moving the men in her life to a certain point or getting the emotion that the men experience knowing that they have failed the person that they were supposed to protect or...
Well, this is about a woman.
Good.
Protecting herself. And I would argue she's not a likable woman.
Yeah, that's right. You know who else isn't
I don't think anybody's likable in the movie.
Oh,
I don't know if that's part of the point.
Possibly, but it might also just be a director thing, because you know who's likable in this movie? Not a fucking person.
No, I think it's part of the point, because, I mean, watch the movie.
Yeah.
But it's like she does some things that shitty people would say mean she deserves to be raped, but no one deserves to be raped.
No one deserves to be raped. There's some shit that I would not wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
And, and this comes from somebody who happily laughs online when like a politician they hate dies. Yeah. But like there's some things that nobody fucking deserves, and there's no reason for it.
Well, go watch The Substance, and if you like it, check out The Revenge afterwards. Or it's just Revenge. Just Revenge.
Yeah, Katie's been wanting to watch that for a while. Now that I know that it was done by this director, I am very interested, because this might be my favorite movie that I saw from 2024.
I think it's a lot of people's.
Yeah. And it's one of my favorites in a while.
Yeah.
Really did kill my appetite for like several days. It's just like that fucking floppy shrimp, man. Just grotesque. So grotesque. And everything is so wet.
Yeah.
And I always laugh when people talk about hating the word moist, because I'm like, you don't fucking hate the word moist. Get the fuck out of here. Find an actual personality. You don't just steal these fucking quirks offline. But
those shrimp were pretty moist.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. The word moist is not gross. Seeing things that are moist and hearing their squishing in the right context. Moist cake, fine. Moist shrimp, moist floppy shrimp that is clearly a man referencing his own dick, less great. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, great movie. Hope you watched it before you listened to this. Jessica, play us out.
Now I'm a puddle on a star. Thanks for joining us here at the Streaming Screams podcast. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and YouTube at Streaming Screams Pod.
You can also find us on TikTok and Blue Sky at Screams Pod.
Every follow, like, thumb, rating, review, subscription, and share all help us out a lot with all the algorithm shit.
So if you like what we're doing, please rate us wherever you get your podcasts, like our posts, all that other good internet bullshit. And again, thank you for listening to
the Streaming Screams podcast. We weren't anywhere.
I know, which is like the worst part. And we're back. And the next movie that we are going to talk about is The Neon Demon, released in 2016, directed by Nicolas Refn, written by Mary Laws, Nicolas Refn, and Polly Stenham. Quick interesting thing about the writers. Refn had this idea and this story in his head, but he didn't want to do a totally female story without having actual female input. So he hired the other two writers just to make sure that it was like made sense coming from a woman's point of view, and had them do most of the dialogue based on what he wanted the character to say.
It's interesting, because I know that they didn't really follow the script very much.
As much as I often view him as kind of pompous as a person, from what I understand, he actually runs a very relaxed set and lets people improvise a lot and all of that stuff. So, like there's a few scenes in this movie that I know of that were improvised, are pretty fun.
Yeah, apparently he has a suggestion box of literally anyone on the crew.
Really?
And then every day he comes in early, and then they decide what to do. So literally the script was changing like as they were filming it.
That's kind of cool.
The girl who played
Jessie, Ruby, Gigi, Sarah.
The one of the girls that was nicer at first, the one that hasn't had all the plastic surgery.
Sarah.
Yeah, she said that it was her character completely changed, like in the film of the movie.
Oh, really?
So it was confusing for her. And she's a real model.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Could see it. She was pretty gorgeous. I think this is like the fourth time that I've seen this movie. The first time, Katie and I went to see it at a special screening with Refn there. We watched the movie, and then he was interviewed by Lars Ulrich from Metallica.
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that. Which is weird. Why him?
He just really likes movies and likes to do that kind of thing, I guess. But yeah, it was very funny, and we were pretty confused by that. But of course, I was going to go see that because I really love Drive. It's one of my favorite movies. And, grew up on Metallica. Can't honestly imagine my teenage years without it. you know? So it was very funny because both Katie and I felt like Refn was kind of pompous and up his own butt.
A lot of people think that.
But Lars was like one of the nicest famous people that I've met, you know? He hung out and talked with me for a good while, gave me a big hug, had no problem signing a CD for me. Really sweet dude. It has put me in a funny position where every time somebody starts like ragging on Lars, I'm like, oh, come on, man, I've met that guy. He's super nice. The reason I brought this up is because I don't remember if he mentioned the suggestion box, but he was telling us about how in the necrophilia scene, spoilers, in the necrophilia scene, Ruby was just supposed to kiss the corpse, but then she decided to hop up on the corpse and really start going at it. He thought that was cool. So then he started throwing out these little directions like, all right, now spit in her mouth, you know, I thought this was very funny.
I don't think it's true, but he was saying like, oh yeah, the reason why there was like a part with a bunch of nudity is because everyone kept putting in the suggestion box every day.
Which part had all the nudity?
I think after when they're like showering and stuff. I don't think it's true. I think he was joking.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, yeah, that's why we had like the nudity is because every day it was in the suggestion box.
Have a shower scene.
I don't think he was serious. I think he was just joking.
No. That had to be a joke because that is actually such an important scene that I can't imagine it was just, you know, all right, let's get some chicks naked today.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, actually getting into this, we've got Elle Fanning as Jessie, a 16-year-old aspiring model who has recently moved to LA on her own. Youthful and naturally gorgeous, she is an object of desire or envy for everyone she comes into contact with. She seems to have some level of modesty, nervousness, and even a bit of innocence at the start of the movie, but will do whatever it takes to succeed, eventually thoroughly embracing narcissism as the movie goes on. We've got Carl Glusman as Dean, Jessie's photographer and would-be love interest. Although he is romantically attracted to her at the start, he grows disgusted with the world that he's followed her into, and eventually with who Jessie becomes as a result. The three other characters, Ruby and the two models, the last time I was watching this, I decided that I think they're a coven of witches. I don't know if I'm the only one that's thought of it. I'm sure I'm not. In particular, we've got Jenna Malone as Ruby, who fills in the mother spot. She is a makeup artist who initially acts as Jessie's friend. She acts as a maternal figure, protecting Jessie and guiding her through the rough new world that she has entered. However, she becomes obsessed with Jessie and her intentions get very, very dark. When she is not making models look glamorous, she's putting makeup on bodies at the morgue as a mortuary cosmetologist. She is devious, manipulative, maneuvering herself to be Jessie's primary trusted figure. She also enjoys the power that she has over the models, feeding their jealousy of Jessie and kind of pitting them against each other at times. She is the most dangerous person because she is the most deceptive, working from the shadows, behind the scenes, in more ways than one, and controlling people's perceptions on every level. I believe she works with blood magic, as does the rest of the coven, but is also likely a necromancer. Jessica's kind of chuckling at me right now.
I mean, I can see a witchcraft angle, but that's going too far. But yeah, anyways, continue.
No, she's so associated with death. And like, clearly the drinking of the blood and eating of Jessie is to steal her youth, right? And to preserve that. Okay, if I am correct, then clearly that's what's going on there. They're stealing her youth and her beauty and her essence and all that. And the reason I bring up necromancy isn't so much because they kill her as part of the spell, of course, but she also fucks a corpse and she works in a mortuary. She's very associated with death in all sorts of ways. Then we have Bella Heathcote as Gigi, the crone. She is very envious of Jessie's natural beauty, herself relying heavily on plastic surgery to maintain her own, and as such, she is very hostile towards Jessie throughout most of the movie, but is unable to live with what they do to Jessie at the end. Literally. She's the only one to show any kind of remorse, even if it's maybe a very selfish remorse. Then we've got Abby Lee as Sarah, the maiden. Although fascinated by Jessie, she is not as outwardly hostile as Gigi at first. As the film goes on, she develops a one-sided rivalry with Jessie. We've got Desmond Harrington as Jack MacArthur, a callous, intimidating, unpleasant photographer who everyone wants to work with and seems to be kind of a gateway to success in the modeling industry.
Guy always plays an asshole.
Does he?
Yeah, he's Quinn and Dexter. And
Which one was Quinn?
He's like a cop that comes in later. What? I think he comes in at like season 3.
Not the cop that's always cussing Dexter out and all that, right?
No, not Dokes. He's like a cocky asshole in it.
Boy, I'm having so much trouble remembering Dexter.
Oh, yeah, it was a while ago.
But yeah, it's been forever, and all I remember is everyone hated the ending and the surprise motherfucker meme. We've got Christina Hendricks as Roberta Hoffman. Although she doesn't have much screen time, she has a very important role as kind of like a Charon character. She signs Jessie to her modeling agency, helping her to falsify papers and advising her on how to lie about her age. She is unconcerned with the morality of her industry and the well-being of her models. We've got Keanu Reeves as Hank, a sleazy motel manager who advertises his motel as a safe haven for runaway teens, but this is a ruse and a trap. He is a pimp, a sex trafficker, a rapist, and likely a murderer. And boy, oh boy, I think this is the roughest I've ever seen Keanu Reeves, or the darkest I've ever seen him play. Like, his character is so gross.
Have you seen Badlands?
No.
Oh.
Wait. No. What's Badlands?
It's like I think it's in the apocalypse, or it's like somewhere where like prisoners are dumped. I forget.
The Bad Batch?
Is that it?
It's the one where the girl gets her leg eaten in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Bad Batch. And no, I actually find his character here to be worse.
He has like a sex cult. It like has like pregnant ladies and shit.
But he rapes a 13-year-old girl in this movie.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
You don't see it.
Yeah. No, he is fucked up in this movie, and he's really good at it. I love Keanu Reeves. He's a great actor. Then we've got Alessandro Nivola. Fuck. Nivola?
I think Nivola. I don't know. I'm not good at pronouncing things either.
Yeah. We've got Alessandra Nivola as Robert Samo, a fashion designer who cares about nothing aside from beauty. He is vapid, arrogant, cruel, and completely one-dimensional by choice. Okay. Before we get into the actual meat of the movie here, I did want to take a moment, or probably a few minutes, to talk about color. What? No, what is that? What is that smile?
No, go ahead.
No, I want to know. What's that smirk?
I was gonna bring it up later. Because I know you said you have like this whole theory around color.
Uh-huh.
The director's colorblind.
Partially colorblind. He can't see mild colors. He can't see like mid-range colors. So one of the reasons his movies are so brightly colored is because he needs them to be really vivid for him to see them.
Yeah.
So no, I did know that.
But he just doesn't see it very well.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, I listened to a bunch of interviews with him. He had nothing to say about color.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And honestly, I would guess that
Other than he's like, it has to be really high contrast because I can't see it.
Yeah.
So if I can't see it, I don't want it on there. Doesn't mean like...
It is true.
Yeah.
That is true. It actually does not negate anything that I'm about to say about color. I think that's just why his movies pop so much.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
What got me going on the colors, it was either reading or hearing somebody else's basic statements about some of the primary colors. After coming up with the whole witches thing, then reading or hearing about the meanings of red, blue, and white in this movie, I went and rewatched it another time, trying to keep these things in mind, and then, writing notes specifically about them.
Wait. You said primary colors?
Not primary colors like in the artistic sense. I mean the ones primarily featured in the movie.
Okay.
I know those aren't the primary colors. The main colors used here. Whites and pastels seem to represent innocence and purity. Red is danger and corruption. The women who are all the biggest threats to Jessie have red hair. One of them is named Ruby. The other one, is Roberta Hoffman.
They don't have red hair, though. The chick that gets her hired does.
Yeah, Christina Hendricks, she has red hair, and then Ruby does have red hair. Yeah. I checked.
I was like, I wouldn't call it red, but that's okay.
Well, no, it's not like fire engine red. It's like, like kind of ginger.
And the other girls are blonde.
Yeah, they're not a real threat to her. They kind of do Ruby's bidding. Ruby's the head of the coven. Blue would be vanity. We often see blue followed by red, as that old saying, pride cometh before the fall. We see blue utilized a lot in the photo shoots where vanity is at its peak. Green, especially seafoam or cyanish green, seems to represent death. We see green a lot in the morgue, and we also see it a lot in the motel, particularly at night when it's the most dangerous. Pink and magenta seem to represent sex. We see this color in lipstick several times, particularly when the characters are, really aiming to be sexy. And then gold, which seems to represent glamour, beauty, and most importantly, power. For example, gold is associated with Jack, who wears a gold chain and paints Jessie in gold body paint for their photo shoot. So, anything you want to pick apart about my witch theory or my color theory yet?
No.
Yeah, all right. We open with a gorgeous shot of Jessie in beautiful high fashion makeup and clothing, and who initially looks like her throat has been slit. For a moment, this is played as though it may be a crime scene as we see the photographer, but the camera pulls back and we see that this is an attempt at a high fashion photo shoot. I say attempt because even though I think this looks really pretty, these photos get really shit on later.
Yeah, it's weird. Because they also act like he's just some boyfriend, but I'm like, they're on a studio. She's like in a dressing room, like when they're cleaning up.
Yeah.
They make it act like it's like super amateur hour. And I'm like,
yeah.
And it's the same makeup artist, Ruby, that is working with the high-end guy.
Honestly, it is weird to me. I don't know.
Whatever.
They never show the photograph, so maybe he just had like shitty angles.
I thought they do.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I thought when...
I know she hands him to...
yeah, I thought they did.
She hands him to Roberta Hoffman. I don't remember actually seeing them on screen. I just remember Roberta holding them.
I thought they did, but maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Either way.
It doesn't matter.
I thought this looked cool, but,
it does.
Maybe it's the cheesiness of having her covered in fake blood. The color usage in this scene is pretty cool. We see her initially in the blue dress, and as the camera pulls out, she is all framed by red, setting up how her vanity is going to lead her to destruction. As Jessie wipes off the blood with a series of comically small napkins, she meets Ruby, who takes an immediate liking to her. Ruby helps remove the makeup and the blood and asks about Jessie's family, at which point we find out that Jessie's parents are dead and she really has nobody else.
Which I think is questionable if it's true or not.
I don't know if it's true.
It doesn't matter.
It's just a
throwaway thing. Parents don't matter. They're not in the picture.
So after this, Jessie accompanies Ruby to a party where she meets Gigi and Sarah. Jessie quickly makes an enemy out of Gigi by either intentionally or unintentionally insulting the fact that Gigi's had a lot of plastic surgery. Sarah pries into her life and establishes her own jealousy as the seeds of their one-sided rivalry are planted. And this is where the lipstick discussion occurs, where the coven gives her the choice between being food and sex. At the time, neither she nor the audience understands just how literal this question actually is. This I mentioned when going through the color theory, that the whole room is bright pink while this is happening, and then there is red rum lipstick, which, The Shining, murder, and red. They go back out to the party, watch a performance. There's a lot of flashing lights. It's a really cool scene where there's no dialogue. There's just music and a lot of strobe lights. I don't know if I'm going to describe this well. The way everybody is set up, the way the blocking is done, so where everybody is positioned in the camera whenever the camera focuses on them, and the way that they look at each other during the performance between all these strobes does a really good job of, first off, like silent communication between all of them, but also kind of establishing where everybody is in this pecking order. Ruby is clearly above both of the models, and Jessie is an outsider. And that's all just really well portrayed in this scene.
I think it's also a weird scene because I'm like, what party is this? It doesn't seem like anyone else is there. There's a performer.
Yeah, there's a performer. Yeah, no, there is a performer. I think we see them walk out of the bathroom, and there's a few other people, but
it just seems weird.
Yeah, this is a really artsy scene. Yeah. They're all against a black.
This is an artsy scene.
I mean, this whole movie is an artsy movie. But in particular, in this one, there's all these strobes, and they're all against a totally black background. After this, Jesse meets with Roberta Hoffman, who uses an interesting combination of nagging and legit praise to manipulate her, despite Jesse already clearly wanting to do this. It is weird when she starts buttering up and she's like, the first thing she says is, I would never call you fat, but other people will. But I think you're perfect, blah, 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 blah. It's weirdly and unnecessarily manipulative. But of course, that's part of what makes her so powerful in this industry, as we can see symbolized by all of the gold decoration and gold furniture in her office. So she also informs Jesse that she has set up a photo shoot with Jack, a well-known and respected photographer that all of the models in town really want to work with. And she helps Jesse falsify some of her paperwork, in particular the parental consent documents, and tells Jesse that if anybody asks her age, to say 19, because 18 is too on the nose. She just can't be 16.
Yeah.
We see Jesse going out on a date with Dean, who was the photographer in the first scene. I didn't say his name because I'd forgotten it. I think that he thinks this is a date and she doesn't, which, happens. So she talks a lot about the relationship that she had with the moon as a child, imagining it as a large eye that was watching her and how she always wanted it to notice her. She also mentions that she's not talented or special, except that she's pretty. That's kind of what she's banking on. She knows she can make money being pretty. This is the first time that we see her vanity shine through her modest exterior, and she also reveals her age to him, but dodges when he tries to kiss her. He initially acts like taken aback by her age, but still tries to kiss her. There's not a fucking decent human in this whole goddamn movie. He's like the closest thing there is.
And we don't know his age. But
we can
adult.
Yeah, he's an adult. Again, we can surmise from him being like, whoa, when she says that she's 16. And she's 16 last month. She's not even like late 16. She's like just out of 15.
Yeah.
Jesse enters her motel room to find that the light doesn't work. The sliding glass door is open and something is in her room. So she goes to talk to Hank, the motel owner, to try to get help. He and his associate are obviously complete assholes. They go up to the room and find that the intruder is a wild cat. Hank makes it clear that she is going to have to pay for the damages and that he, quote, I will find you, end quote, if she tries to escape without doing so. This is the scene, one of the scenes that seems to confuse people the most. Just not knowing what the point of having the wildcat breaking into her motel is. I have my suspicions about it, but we will get to that more near the end. Jesse goes to her photo shoot along with Ruby, who does her makeup. Upon seeing Jesse, Jack closes the set, kicking everyone out, including Ruby, who tries to stay, but he wants to shoot her nude with gold body paint. The shoot is successful, but afterwards, Ruby warns Jesse to be wary of Jack, implying that he's a predator who preys on young women and makes them a lot of promises. She also makes sure that Jesse has her phone number and secures a promise from her that she will be the one Jesse calls if she ever needs help. I kind of see this as isolating behavior on her part.
Sure.
Jack comes off as a dickhead.
But he never seems interested in any of the women.
No, he never seems predatory, and even when he's rubbing the gold body paint on her, like there is a sensuality to it, but I don't think he's trying to fuck her.
It's more because he doesn't say anything and then it's just like rubbing her neck and stuff, but he never like touches her anywhere. Like,
yeah.
It's just that he doesn't say anything and all of a sudden it gets really close.
Yeah.
And it's but he seems to not be interested in any of the girls.
Right. He doesn't seem to actually be interested in the girls, and my interpretation of his behavior here is that he's really into his photo shoots.
Yeah, he's not even thinking about it.
No, he is an artiste, and he's here to capture an image, and this is a constant thing that we see with him. Part of his rough exterior is that he just wants his shot, and he doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah, he doesn't want to dick around, literally.
After this, we go to a diner where we see the coven, as I'm just going to call them through the whole thing. We go to a diner where we see the coven discussing the photo shoot as well as Jesse. The models are shocked to hear that Jack did a test shot with Jesse because he doesn't shoot new models. And Gigi is dismissive, downplaying what seems to be an accomplishment, while Sarah's jealousy cranks up into this full-on rivalry. Despite Ruby's clear infatuation with Jesse, she does seem to enjoy the power that she has over the models in feeding their jealousy and anger towards her, and kind of also turning them against each other at points, as Sarah calls Gigi out on her age. Sarah and Jesse are both involved in a casting call with Robert Samo, another complete asshole. Sarah is clearly pissed that Jesse is there. As some absolutely stunning women show their runway walks for Samo in their underwear, he barely looks at or acknowledges their presence, mostly fussing around with the handkerchief and only communicating to his staff with vague, barely perceptible head movements. This guy is the fucking essence of every artist I hate. So fucking pompous. So up his own ass.
I don't know. I like him after the show when they're all talking in the booth.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate him there.
No,
he's such a dickhead.
No, he's not. He's totally real.
Being real, I do think, is an admirable quality.
Yeah.
But I don't think that being real makes up for being a dick.
Yeah, but he totally calls out like the bullshittery of like the whole industry.
He does, but he does it while really needlessly tearing down Gigi.
Because she's a cunt. I think she deserves it.
She probably does, but we don't see her do anything to him or even in this scene that really warrants it, other than...
Yeah, but he knows who she is, and he knows how she treats everybody else.
Yeah, I don't see him as any better, and in particular, like obviously we'll get into this one in more detail, but in particular the way he reacts to Dean's response. Yeah, I fucking hate this guy. But also, honestly, even just after this scene, I already knew that I was going to hate him for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, he's awful here.
Yeah, there's literally nothing he could have done.
It's like, why are you even casting if you're not going to look?
Yeah, I mean, he just glances at them once and then lets them do their thing, and it's particularly annoying the way he's fussing with his handkerchief and trying to like make it into something he likes the looks of, like he's trying to arrange it into a flower while these, all these women are trying so hard.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous. And again, the way he communicates to his staff, just with these barely perceptible head shakes and nods and just at one point in time, I think somebody asks him a question and he just sort of gives them an incredulous look and that's it. But even that's barely perceptible. Just way, way too up his own ass. Fucking dick. I would not get along with this guy. Either that or I would love him. I don't know. So, Sarah demonstrates her walk for Samo, but is barely even perceived by him, and he can't even be arsed to tell her no himself, relying on his assistant to do so after one of his vague head shakes. The moment he sees Jesse, however, he is completely enthralled, actually talking to her and asking her questions about her experience, and also just this really obnoxious body language of exaggerated gulps and breathing in this, my God, what am I looking at kind of way.
To me, this all as though is just like represents the whole industry. And I think like what they're attracted to her about, which they may or may not know, is that she's underage.
I definitely think that you're right on the first part. The second part, maybe.
I think that's what all of them are attracted to, is that she's underage and she's a virgin. They don't need to know that. I think there's just an essence of her that they're just like, purity.
Well, because the thing that they always talk about through this movie is natural beauty.
I know, but Elle Fanning also isn't this gorgeous woman.
I mean,
she's pretty, but she's not this like gorgeous woman. I would say a lot of the other characters are way more pretty than she is, but I think it is it's her youth that they're after.
I mean, well, when we get to all the stuff with the witches, for sure. For sure.
No, but I think even the photographers and everything, it's the youth. It's like I said, they may not know she's underage. Well, just think about like Hollywood and stuff.
Oh, no, I know.
And a lot of like models start when they're like 13, 14, and then we dress them up as women.
We do.
I think it's literally the way he talks about her through this whole thing. I found it to be how Hollywood talks about underage girls.
So,
and I feel like that's like what everybody in this movie is after.
I can very much see where you're coming from. The only real evidence that I would have to go against that is in the diner scene where you really like him and he's tearing down Gigi by comparing her to Jessie. Jessie no longer looks underage in that scene. She's done up with a much more mature hairstyle. She's done up with more mature makeup.
That doesn't matter. I already said, like, because what we do, we take 13-year-olds and dress them up as women.
Oh, yeah.
But what is attractive about them is the fact that they're super fucking young.
It is, I mean,
I even think that a lot of the times in that thing, like Hollywood and just predators in general will do that to try to make themselves feel not as predatory. They're like, no, look, a woman.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really weird. I cannot wrap my head around how age works with casting in Hollywood because all the time you go to see a movie and somebody's supposed to be in high school, but they're clearly in their like mid-20s or even like 30. And there's always this thing about casting older people as like teenagers and shit. But then, yeah, what you're talking about is also true, where they will cast teenagers and then try to make them seem older.
Yeah. But what you're talking about has more to do with like age code laws. Hiring teenagers is a pain in the ass because they can't work as many hours.
Yeah.
There's all these child labor laws. That's why. That's the thing. And then also, if any nudity is involved, you can't do that. So that's more practicality of why they hire older people to play teenagers.
We don't see Elle Fanning nude in this movie, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, which is good because she's 16, but...
In the context of the movie, yeah.
I
think she was 19 when she made it, though.
Just look that up real quick.
Oh. She was 17 during filming and 18 when the movie premiered.
All right. So
no.
Definitely a good thing we didn't see her naked. After this, we see Sarah in the bathroom, absolutely enraged at her rejection and at Jesse's success, smashing a mirror with like a waste paper basket or a waste paper bucket, whatever. She smashes a mirror. That's it.
Waste paper bucket.
Waste paper
Trash
bucket.
can?
Trash can, yeah. I mean,
waste paper bucket.
It just always seems so weird to call something a trash can when it's like, just a waste paper thing, which I know they're still called. It doesn't fucking matter.
I know, but just the bucket. I've never heard of waste paper. Waste paper bucket.
Waste paper bucket. That'd be a good band name. So anyway,
I thought I turned off my sound.
God damn it, Jessica.
My sound is off. What the fuck?
So Jesse goes in and tries to comfort Sarah to absolutely no effect. I think it might actually piss Sarah off more.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want the person you lost to be like,
Well, and especially if you've already decided that you have a rivalry with them. And it's probably even more obnoxious that Jessie doesn't seem to know. And if she does, she clearly doesn't care.
Well, Sarah's nicer to her. Gigi is.
Sarah is nicer to her.
I don't feel like they do have a clear rivalry at this point.
So I think that they have a clear rivalry, but not an enmity. I don't think Sarah hates her, but she is clearly jealous.
Sure.
And we can see this rivalry develop really heavily during this scene because while Samo is talking to Jessie, she is just steaming in the back.
Yeah.
And it absolutely pisses her off. And she kind of lunges at Jessie, who accidentally cuts herself on the shards of the mirror. Sarah then grabs her arm and starts drinking the blood, much to Jessie's horror.
Yeah.
I really like that because it kind of comes out of nowhere. The first bit of like foreshadowing, but also like the first element of horror. Like I feel like at this point in the movie, you've kind of forgotten that you went to go see a horror movie. And then suddenly she's, drinking Jessie's blood. It's just not someplace that I thought the movie was going to go. But I also didn't know anything about the movie before I saw it. All I knew was that they were having this showing with Lars and William Wendig Refn, and I was definitely going to go see that. So Jessie escapes and runs back to her motel room, dodging Hank, who seems to be waiting for her, and treats her wounds. She answers a knock at the door, which turns out to be Dean, who tries to hand her flowers, but she passes out and hallucinates a blue triple triangle and a red pyramid, which will be important later on. Another thing I noticed this last time was that he mentions earlier in the movie when he goes to pick her up for their date that he meant to bring her her flowers, but something happened and he couldn't.
Yeah.
And then this time he tries to hand her flowers, which of note are white and pink. And she reaches out to take them, but that's when she passes out and the flowers hit the ground, petals scattering everywhere. I think the white and pink of the flowers kind of comes into play there. He wants to bang the virgin, kind of like you were talking about earlier.
Sure.
But also all of that is breaking apart when she hits the floor.
Yeah.
Dean then goes to pay off Hank, who is unsurprisingly a complete dick. And when asked why he's being such an asshole, he's like, I'm just trying to be friendly and make sure you're getting something out of this whole deal. Referring to her as a piece of hard candy, which is gross. And then he tells Dean that if it doesn't work out, he will pimp out a 13-year-old girl to him, which leads, in my opinion, to the most memorable and revolting line of the movie, Keanu Reeves in his creepiest voice saying, "Real Lolita shit."
Yeah.
Real Lolita shit. Like it's so fucked up. So gross. This is another one of those scenes at the motel, and it's at night, so we've got those greens because Hank is the most outwardly dangerous character in the movie.
Sure.
So backstage at Samo's fashion show, Gigi is disgusted to find Jessie is there and tries to pull some dominance shit on her, like being like, that's my chair, blah, blah, blah. And, they clearly don't have assigned seating.
Yeah. Everybody knows I sit there.
And Jessie actually delivers a pretty nasty insult, which Gigi takes as a compliment. All of the models, except Jessie, have this blue makeup around their eyes and this red makeup on and around their lips, but it's all smeared and messed up and, in all honesty, a little bit clownish.
Yeah. Definitely.
When Gigi says, I don't know about the makeup this year, and Jessie responds with, I think you look perfect, it's basically calling her a messy clown.
Sure.
But Gigi takes it as a compliment, smiles, adoring herself in the mirror. But this also gets Gigi to open up a little bit, and she starts telling Jessie about the astounding amount of plastic surgery that she's had done. And it is a lot of plastic surgery. There's not a real thing on her, apparently.
Right.
I don't think I put this in my notes anywhere, but there are so many goddamn mirrors in this movie. I think there's mirrors in like almost every scene.
Yeah.
Clearly that's meant to be a statement about modeling as a whole and vanity and...
Well, he talked about that part of the thing with this movie is that it's about how like vanity used to be a negative, but in the current generation, it's a positive. Social media and Instagram and everything. You're supposed to be vain and post yourself everywhere.
Yeah, 100% agree. I did not know that was part of his intention.
Listening to him talk, I don't know how much of part of anything was his intention. Other than like having an idea. Because as an example, he says, you know what Drive is about? I wanted to make a movie about driving around while listening to pop music. That's literally what he said.
I mean, that is a large...
I'm just saying, this movie.
So I don't know how seriously to take what he says in that regard, because Drive actually doesn't have much driving in it.
Yeah. He also said this movie was like, I wanted to know what it was like to be a teenage girl. Clearly not what the movie is about.
No, I did hear him say that. I don't remember if he said it at the event that I went to or at the showing that I went to, but I did watch an interview with him where he was talking about how Jessie is supposed to be the 16-year-old girl inside of him. Yeah. And how he feels that every man has a 16-year-old girl somewhere inside of them. We probably saw the same interview. Yeah. Honestly, that interview, I know that you're taking it as kind of bullshit. When I watched that interview, it kind of endeared me to him a little bit more.
Well, no, I'm just saying that it seems like movies, he has a vague idea. He does care more about aesthetic than the actual movie. And a lot of things are just up for interpretation. There isn't a solid meaning, and it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
Because he even said that movies, he's like, it's really hard to make something that people either love or hate. He doesn't want movies that are universally loved or universally hated. He wants to be like in the middle ground, because he says all these movies are about like emotion. It's about how you feel. Like, again, I don't think anything like whatever you get out of this movie is what the movie's about. He has ideas. Mm-hmm. Like he stated what he thinks the mountain lion is, but that it also is vague and is up for interpretation.
Wow.
So
don't tell me that one yet. Yeah. Well, I want to hear that at the end, but like I said, I have my own theory on it. Yeah. When we went to that event, I did get to talk to him for a little bit, and like I said, he was kind of pompous.
I don't find him pompous in any of his
not pompous, but a little up his own ass. Yeah. And you know what? Thinking about it more, and I was talking to Katie about this, looking back on it, having looked more into the movie and having watched it a few times and having watched Drive a million more times, I actually wonder how much he was up his own ass and how much we were just really surprised that Lars wasn't. And if and if by comparison that like it just
Maybe.
because he was definitely a little more stuffy than Lars. But
I also though I found like reading comments and like interviews that I watched, which I agree. Somebody said, I think what people are taking as him being up his own ass is actually English is not his first language. So it's him translating and being deliberate about what he says. And so there's certain pauses at points that also make him come off more arrogant, but it's him actually like making sure he's saying the right thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When I did meet him, just speaking on what you were saying about extreme emotion, he did say something like that during the Q&A. And so when I talked to him, I told him about my relationship with Drive. The first time I saw it, I absolutely hated it. And he seemed like a little taken aback by that.
Or just somebody coming to say that to you.
No. Well, I mean, I did lead into that. I didn't just walk up and be him like, so, Drive sucked.
Yeah.
But no, I did tell him that the first time I saw Drive, I really hated it, but that something about the movie like stuck with me and I just kept thinking about it once in a while, randomly for about a year. And then something in me just said like, yeah, you should watch this movie again, give it another shot. And the second time I watched it, it was instantly like my favorite movie.
Yeah.
I told him this and he got this look on his face and he goes, oh, that is interesting. He was like excited to hear about that reaction.
Yeah.
I didn't get to talk to him long, but that was what I really remember from that interaction.
Well, I have like a thing on him that I think goes more for Drive than Neon Demon.
Yeah, let's do it.
But he says he likes movies about transformation, but transformation that is standing still. The movie is standing still. It is us that goes from A to B, not the film. I think Drive fits into that. Your story fits into that.
Yeah, my story does fit into that. Yeah, I mean, there is a transformation sequence in this movie,
sure.
And so it definitely changes.
Well, he does say all the characters in all his movies do go through transformation, but the movies his movies are very still, and it's that's funny. I like that. Yeah, I would love to meet him again under, I don't know, any other circumstance, because I do now feel like Katie and I might have judged him a little harshly. You're not the only ones. Like I said, like lots of people apparently think he's like some asshole.
Yeah.
Arrogant asshole. But then watching a bunch, I didn't have that come off. But I like I said, I agree with probably that one comment that's like, I think it's because it's English isn't his first language.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be deliberate about what he's saying.
I could totally see that.
And so he talks in a cadence that comes off as assault. Also, I don't think, like I said, his movies are all like, everything means something. So he doesn't have like always a direct answer.
Yeah. One of the interviews that I was watching with him recently did actually trigger something that I remember from the event that Katie and I went to, which was this one part where he didn't seem pompous. It was Lars was asking him what it's like to be on set with him, and he was talking about how he likes to take in ideas from everybody and how he likes to have a really relaxed set, and he has music playing between shots and or between takes. And there was this funny thing where Lars was like, so how do you get a character, or how do you get an actor and relaxed and ready to go? And he starts giving Lars a back rub, and Lars is like, so am I Elle Fanning or am I Ryan Gosling? And he goes, definitely Ryan Gosling. But it was this moment where he really didn't seem all that pompous, and he did seem like fun and friendly.
Yeah.
So then reading or watching these interviews with like Keanu Reeves and all of that, talking about how he really likes working with the actors and has this relaxed set with a chill vibe.
Yeah.
I would just like to meet him again and see if my impression of him changes.
Yeah.
Because also, I don't think I actually knew that English was his second language. Right. Here we come to the transformation sequence. And this is basically a dream sequence that she hallucinates as she is closing out this runway show. She exits from a blue pyramid and walks towards a blue triple triangle. As she reaches that triangle, she sees herself flanked by mirror images of herself. And she watches herself as the Jessie in the center of the triangle kisses herself in the mirror on either side very sensually, while the triangle changes from blue to red. This is, I think, where the ideas of color come most into play, because we start with blue, as we mentioned, representing vanity, with white camera flashes. To me, this triangle is kind of like the pool of Narcissus, where this is where she really falls in love with herself and embraces her narcissism. And that's the point where the triangle turns red and the camera flashes actually turn blue. So I'm kind of interpreting this as vanity basically swallowing or killing whatever innocence she has left. And then leading her to danger. After this scene, we get to the diner scene. Or wait, was it a diner or a bar?
No, it's a diner.
Is it a diner?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It's a bougie one if it is.
Yeah.
But so Jesse and Dean, after this, go to a diner, and Jesse immediately looks very different with more mature, stylized hair, wearing a highly fashionable gold and black outfit instead of the pastels that we've seen her in up to this point. Samo, Gigi, and another model happen to be there, having a very vapid yet pompous conversation about beauty. Samo compares the supposedly fake beauty of Gigi to the natural beauty of Jesse, absolutely tearing Gigi down and humiliating her. Dean tries to interject and call Samo out for his superficiality and his bullshit, but Samo points out his own hypocrisy to him, saying that if Jessie was not beautiful, Dean would never have even stopped to look at her.
It's true, and then also he's trying to become a fashion photographer.
Yeah, so he's no better. He's an interesting character in that he seems like the most normal one, but he's more just like he hasn't gotten there yet.
I think this is making him all realize, like, how shitty it all is. I bet after this, he doesn't continue photography.
Right. And so I actually agree, because at this point, he's disgusted by all of this, insulted as well, and doesn't actually have any defense for this accusation of hypocrisy. So he wants to leave. But Jessie, fully embracing her new narcissistic personality, refuses and dismisses him. And she's really gross about it.
Yeah.
She's like,
well, to be fair, he wasn't invited anyways. It's kind of showed up.
I mean, that's true. Well, he showed up to her motel, but clearly they agreed to go out together.
Yeah, I guess.
But, you know, Jessie wants to hang out with her new high fashion people. You know, Gigi is awful, but I actually did feel really bad for her in this scene. He was brutal to her. She may have. I don't like her at all. She may have, but it was still just like, Jesus Christ.
She asked for it herself because she's like, sometimes you can't tell when people have had 10 plastic surgery. And it's like, okay, bitch.
I mean, sure, but, you know, that was in defense to him really out of nowhere being like, you can tell when beauty's fake, don't get anything done, which is fine to advise somebody not to get anything done.
Yeah.
But he's not like saying it for her own good exactly. It's your beauty is natural and you can always tell when beauty is manufactured.
Yeah.
And that Gigi took offense to because she is the bionic woman, as she called herself earlier.
Yeah.
Back at the hotel, or the motel, Jessie has a nightmare, maybe a premonition, about Hank letting himself into the room and forcing a knife into her throat in a grossly rapey manner. I did notice that, again, we have all the green here when Keanu Reeves is on screen and when we see the room, but we also see pink from the flowers and from the wallpaper, and of course gold in the outfit that Jessie is wearing. So, you know, if my color ideas are right, we're seeing all this stuff about sex and power leading to her demise, which, you know, we will get to. When she wakes up, she does find someone, most likely Hank, struggling to open her door. When he can't get in, Jessie hears him break into the room next door, and presumably what we are hearing is him violently raping the 13-year-old girl who is staying in the next room. This scene was also very disturbing.
Yeah.
At the end of this scene, she does press herself up against the wall to listen. What do you think her intention was there? Was she still just scared, or was she enjoying it in a way?
I don't think she was enjoying it. Didn't seem like it.
I mean, I couldn't tell, because when she presses herself up against the wall, Maybe
she's trying to figure out if it is him. I know that she had the dream and stuff, but I never thought it was clear if it was him or not, because why would he have to break in? He has keys.
Earlier, when we had the Wildcat scene, he struggled opening the door. He is bad at using his keys. He ended up having Mikey kick it in because he couldn't get the door unlocked.
Yeah, that's
so I think this is the same thing. And also, as she's walking up to the motel, we do see him staring at her. And
No, I know he's super creepy and shit. I'm not saying it's not him. I just never thought it was clear.
Something I noticed for the first time in this one is when he is walking with her up to the motel room to deal with the wild cat.
It's Mountain Lion.
What was that?
It's Mountain Lion.
Mountain Lion. Yeah. She goes up the stairs ahead of him, and he looks at her ass and makes a slurp sound.
Yeah.
Which is just so fucking gross.
Mountain lion, puma, panther, all the same thing.
Are they all the same thing?
Yeah. Panther is any type of big cat.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they were specifically like the Black Panthers.
No. So a black panther is a leopard with extra melanin.
Are you kidding me?
No.
I had no idea about this. I thought these were all like different.
Yeah, a lot of people do. They're not. Panther is a generic term for a specific type of large cat. Puma is also just a generic term.
Wild.
Yeah.
So do mountain lions ever have spots, or are they all?
No, they don't
okay.
have spots. But yeah. Panther is just it's a general term. And black panthers are leopards.
Super
but they
wild.
have it's a condition that almost all animals can get where they have too much melanin, so they're all black.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Always learn something new about animals with you.
My thing.
Jessie calls Ruby for help, and Ruby does take her in. And Ruby lives in a huge, lavishly decorated mansion with taxidermied animals everywhere, notably several leopards and mountain lions and other wild cats. When she's asked how she affords this house as a makeup artist, she lies and said, "No, I told you I was house sitting," which she absolutely did not.
Yeah, but is it her house?
I think so.
Oh.
I think it's her house. With my interpretation of them being witches, I think she's a lot older than this, and specifically uses her job as a makeup artist or a cosmetologist to access dead bodies in one part of her life, and also just sort of operate behind the scenes as she manipulates people in the other part of her life. But I think that she's older than this, and I don't know how she got the money for that house, but she was clearly lying when she said she was house sitting.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she was not ready to be asked that question. And so I do want to mention that this is where we do see these taxidermied wildcats. My idea about what the mountain lion in the beginning was if my whole thing about witches holds true, I think that mountain lion was sent there by Ruby or by the coven. It may actually be one of the taxidermied animals that we see in the house, or it might just be a familiar, or even one of them having transformed themselves. I do notice that the incident with the mountain lion is what leads to Hank kicking open the door, which shows us, one, that Hank can't operate a door with a shit, which is kind of funny, but also means that there's a new door there, which he may not have a key readily available for. And just overall, with Ruby acting as this protective mother figure in the airs that she's putting on, perhaps trying to protect Jessie from Hank, who is known for housing runaway teens, or maybe just trying to get information on her, or both. Yeah. That's what I think that scene was about. What was your thing? You said that.
We'll wait till the whole end thing.
Okay. All right.
I got a bunch of stuff to tell you that.
Yeah, I am sure. One of the fun things about this movie is,
I'll tell you, be excited about one thing.
one of the fun things about this movie is it being so artsy and open to interpretation. Yeah. Like, I have so much, as you can tell, I have so much to say about this movie, and I think I like it more every time I watch it. So after this, Ruby kind of seems like she's trying to comfort Jessie, but she ends up making a pass at her, and Jessie rejects her. She doesn't take this well.
I also think Jessie, partially because she is becoming like more arrogant and stuff, she knows she needs to maintain her virginity because she needs that purity. So.
That's very possible.
Like, you can't be totally tainted. So
gonna lead to her downfall. This is where she makes the choice. Yeah. She's not going to be sex, so she's going to be food. So Ruby doesn't take this well and tries to force herself on Jessie. She fights Ruby off. Ruby, rejected and enraged, uses pink lipstick to draw a diagram on the mirror. Really, I think that this is a sigil, and it's marking...
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
It starts as two X's surrounded by a large circle, and she's still drawing it when the scene ends.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a sigil marking Jessie for death. I do notice that subtly, one, she's doing this with the hot pink lipstick. And this last time I watched the movie, I noticed something that I never noticed before, which is that before she starts drawing, the room behind her that we see in the mirror is all blue. But as she's drawing, the light changes and the room becomes red. Oh. And then later when we do see the whole sigil, it is clearly a face. There's 3 X's, one under each eye, and then one through the main circle. So it's not exactly like the smiley face with X's for eyes.
Sure.
It's a little more esoteric looking than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ruby does the only reasonable thing that somebody in a situation like hers would do. She goes to her work as a mortuary cosmetologist and fucks a woman's corpse while fantasizing about Jessie.
Yep.
I think this is probably the most talked about scene in this movie.
Isn't this also like they don't mention that she's works at the morgue until this scene?
No, there's another scene where we see her go.
Did she go there before?
Yeah, and we actually see we see who's the fucking guy that runs a morgue? Oh my God. Why am I blanking on this word?
Mortician?
Yes, thank you. Fuck me. Yeah, so the first time we see her in the morgue, it seems almost like a throwaway scene or just something to explain a little bit about her life outside of the modeling world. But she just walks in, says hi to her boss, and starts doing makeup on a dead guy.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, this time she locks the door and goes to town on this corpse. And while she's banging this corpse, she's fantasizing about Jessie, touching herself all erotically. And
it's got to be such a weird scene to film as the actress playing the corpse.
I mean, especially when the other actress hops up on you and it wasn't in the script.
Yeah, and then the director just be dead. Don't move.
Don't move.
Don't react.
Yeah. And how do you not react when the director says, "Yeah, spit in her mouth," and then she fucking does it?
Yeah.
You know, which I really mess with Katie when it comes to this scene. She's seen the movie like twice with me, maybe 3 times, but I always joke about spitting in her mouth whenever this movie comes up. Definitely the last time we watched it, I was just real gross about it and, acted like I was super turned on by this whole thing.
So, like, you know how, like, actors, they get paid, like, a fuck ton more if they have any speaking lines? Do you think you get paid more if you get spit in the mouth?
You gotta. You gotta.
Especially after, well, this is before COVID. But I was like, especially after COVID, right?
Yeah.
That's like,
oh, yeah.
That's got to be like
That's hazard pay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, hazard pay.
I'm guessing that when he told that story, it was sort of a simplified version.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't right that moment.
Yeah, like I cannot for the life of me imagine that she just started crawling on this other girl, and then he was like, spit in her mouth.
And she just doesn't say anything.
And she does it, and the actress who's playing the corpse does nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this scene is fucking wild. I believe you were telling me that the unrated version, the only difference is this scene is more graphic.
Like by seconds.
I still want to see it.
It's supposed to be like that you see more bouncing.
Well, still want to see it.
Yeah. And then that's literally it.
So fucking funny. That's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to watch that, and I'm going to have to make Katie sit through it with me for my own sick amusement. Anyway, so when Ruby gets home, she finds Jessie all dressed up and made up, standing on the diving board above an empty pool. Jessie opines about her beauty and her mom correctly calling her dangerous when she was younger, and just this whole fucking thing of
her head is fully wedged in her ass at this moment.
Like, absolutely.
It's lodged in there.
Her dress, like, kind of looks like a Greek goddess, and she has done her makeup with, like, these huge pink, shadows around her eyes, and glitter, which I forgot to mention that I think glitter is the same as gold in the color palette.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah, she totally takes on this like goddess-like stance and is just like, women would kill to be a half-assed version of me.
Yeah.
And I don't think those were her exact words, but it was something.
It
was pretty fucking pompous. And yeah, I noticed in this scene the pool is very much green with the blue twilight all around her. And then Jessie goes into the house where she is ambushed by Sarah and Gigi. I think I read somewhere that Sarah accidentally really punched her in this scene. which I could totally see and is really funny because holy fuck, she threw a hell of a punch.
Yeah.
This is the kind of punch that you reserve for somebody that you hate. They chase her through the house until she ends up back by the pool where she is cornered. And then Ruby shoves her into the deep end of this empty pool where she lies broken, bloody, and helpless in a shot that really recreates the opening shot from the movie. Her body is laying in the exact same position, with the only difference being that she was on a couch, so her leg hangs down a little bit more at the beginning, but it's the exact same positioning with the same like blood pooling underneath her and all that. And so she is helpless as the coven approaches to finish her off. After this, we see Ruby sitting in a bathtub full of Jesse's blood as she watches Gigi and Sarah in the shower cleaning the blood off of themselves. Obviously, red the major color here.
Yeah.
Also, Glenn Danzig, take note. This is how you make a scene of a woman bathing in blood look hot. We really got to do, was it Veronica?
Veronica, and I don't remember what the other one's called.
The other one that he did was Death Rider in the House of Vampires, and I haven't seen it yet.
It's supposed to be way worse.
I have heard that, and I did see a clip that
like
somebody
no sound
showed
design,
as an example.
whatever.
Yeah.
Red Letter Media talked about it. So
I watched their thing on it, and they showed several scenes, and there just is no sound. And they're even in a bar, and you have women dancing, but there's no music.
Yeah. It's so awkward.
We have. I mean, we have to see it, but I don't want to go off on a thing about a whole other movie and Danzig, but Danzig's a musician. That's his big thing. How is he going to do a movie and not have any fucking music in it or pay any attention to the sound design?
I forgot.
I mean, but you can't. Somebody has to look at it before it goes to the distribution company.
In the other movie too.
I know.
Anyways.
It's bonkers. Yeah, so we really got to do that one. I gotta see it. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when they showed that clip. I was like, oh my god, Danzig, what are you fucking doing? Yeah. After the bloodbath, she walks around topless, absently watering the plants at the house and hosing down the blood in the pool. And then she lays in what looks like a shallow grave reading a book. So this is another reason why I think that they are witches, and in particular with her, why I think that she is both a blood magician and a necromancer. She works in the morgue. She fucks a corpse. She is ultimately the one that, we don't know if she deals the killing blow, but she's the one that pushes her into the pool. And now we see her laying around reading a book in this shallow grave. Yeah. We can't tell what it is. Could be a grimoire. Could just be a trashy romance novel. Who knows? We switch to a nighttime scene where she is in the house underneath this big window with the bright full moon, which tells us that all of this has taken place over a month, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Under a bright full moon, buck naked, where she lays down on the floor in the moonlight and a torrent of blood starts pouring out of her vagina. Now, what this means, who knows? I think it's part of her rebirthing process.
Yeah, maybe.
The blood shower, bloodbath, clearly allusions to Bathory and just the idea that witches would bathe in virgins' blood to keep themselves young and consume virgins to extend their lives. Sarah then accompanies Gigi to her gig where Jack is shooting her and another model named Annie. Annie asks Sarah if a girl has ever screwed her out of a job and what she did about it, to which Sarah responds that she ate the last girl who did that. Annie takes this as a joke, but Gigi is clearly weirdly horrified. Jack immediately becomes enthralled with Sarah and fires Annie on the spot, replacing her.
Showing that it's working.
I was just gonna say, I think that this is a sign that it's working, that it's worked. Nobody's really given her the time of day outside of this scene, and now this guy's just falling all over her. Yeah. And it is really funny because then he just turns around and goes, "Annie, you're fired." Like such a dick. So then we see them doing the photo shoot, and they are in these high fashion like blue and red outfits, wearing these ridiculous sunglasses.
Yeah, what is his name? Refn?
Nicolas Refn.
Yeah, Refn. He said that he's like, yeah, now the movie turns into like a perfume ad. And somebody asked what he meant by that, and he's like, well, this is how I shoot perfume ads.
Yeah, you know what? I can totally see it. I can totally see it. So this was actually the first time I saw this. This was the first scene or I think the second scene where I really realized how important color was. because they clearly do this thing deliberately with these
Oh,
big
the
red
lines.
lights.
Yeah, and it has the
And they have them set up in a way that they cause red
they
glare.
star off of it. I don't know what you would call that.
It's glare. They're creating glare in the camera lens against this red backdrop, and I'm like, man, there's no
It's like
way.
a sunset.
Sorry, not a red backdrop, a bright blue sky.
Yeah.
But
It's very 80s looking too.
it is very 80s looking. It also does absolutely look like a perfume ad.
Even though they're not dressed exactly like it, it reminds me of what is it? Something unpredictable. Yeah, that. Yeah.
Simply Irresistible
There you
by
go.
Robert
there
Palmer.
You go. Okay.
Yeah. I actually really like that song. But yeah, I always did think that video was really weird with all the like dead-eyed models just sort of half-assed dancing around him.
That's what this scene reminds me of.
I can totally see that. They're doing the shoot, and Gigi, who is looking in the pool when she's not supposed to, seems to get really sick and then runs into the house. Sarah follows her inside and watches her as she vomits up one of Jesse's eyeballs.
Yeah.
I honestly laugh every time I see it.
It is funny.
It's also just absurd how it lands perfectly so that it's staring right at her.
Yeah. She's coming to get her.
Well, Gigi then screams, "I need to get her out of me," before she stabs herself with a pair of scissors and like opens up her stomach, killing herself. Sarah manages to shed one tear and then pops that eyeball into her mouth before walking off, presumably back to the shoot. And what the fuck, man? Yeah, I do think that the whole idea here is that it has worked and they've stolen her beauty.
Yep. They stolen her essence.
Yes, her essence. I actually think literally her beauty, though, too, because I think this is why Gigi can't deal with it, because Gigi is all fake.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the whole thing was about Jesse's natural beauty, and I think Gigi's body rejects it because her beauty is all manufactured.
That makes sense.
And then we have the sequence that I am most baffled by in this movie, which is actually the credit sequence. Because we've spent this entire time in LA, Pasadena, and probably Hollywood in particular. And for some reason, during this credit sequence, suddenly we're following a model who I presume is Sarah because she's wearing Sarah's coat, even though the hair looks a little different. But we're following her as she wanders through the Mojave Desert, which is such a wildly different, like, do you know how far away from LA the Mojave Desert even is? Is it right there?
Yeah, isn't LA like partially in it?
I have no fucking idea. That's SoCal stuff.
It's really close though.
Okay. Even with it being close, it does seem weird. This is the first time that we are not in LA, and like it's really beautifully shot. And I think as I'm talking, I'm now realizing that the whole point is that it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, except that it's beautiful because that's what the movie is about. Maybe that's just my interpretation coming into play here again. Then after this, we see something that's much more appropriate. For the rest of the credit sequence, we see glitter being poured on girls' heads at various angles. And that sounds really goofy the way I say it, but it's done beautifully. It's really cool. And all of this is set to the song Waving Goodbye by Sia, which is a song that I really love. I don't think I'm sure that I've heard Sia in other places, but I don't know any of her other songs. I listen to this song fairly regularly, even, trying to audition singers right now. The playlist that I'm handing all of them, like the second song on there is this song. Because I genuinely just really love it.
Sure.
And I'm not opposed to having some pop style vocals in my music.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that is the Neon Demon.
So in this whole theory, who do you think the Neon Demon is?
I think that the Neon Demon is the triangle, but the triangle is just inside of Jessie, which would make Jessie, or at least her vanity, the Neon Demon.
Good job.
Was that it?
Yeah, they said that they didn't know what the Neon Demon was before, but while filming it, Elle and Refn came to the conclusion that Jessie is the Neon Demon.
Oh, okay.
And this is an exact quote about what the triangle is. It is the shape of the Neon Demon. It's what the Neon Demon looks like. I felt the design of the 3 points was just a classic satanic symbol, and in a way, you can say that the Neon Demon is a long control of beauty, like a witchcraft. In the
baby. Woo!
In the occult, the triangle is a very powerful image. It's a female empowerment, and each point on the triangle represents the three witches, Sarah, Ruby, and Gigi. And it was made neon because the film is called Neon Demon.
That's great. So I was right.
As I said, you'd be excited.
Oh, man. I was fucking right. Witches, and this is, and I think this is a big part of why I love this movie, is somewhere in there, I think I knew it the whole time. But, yeah.
And then the mountain line represents just a presence, that there's a presence throughout the whole movie. So I would assume that is the Neon Demon also.
Oh, I would assume that's Ruby.
Oh, yeah, and then the director talks about how it's a present unseen through the whole movie that's sexy and scary, but naturally we're attracted to it. He also says that it represents how LA treats animals, which I'm not really sure about that one, but he didn't elaborate on it.
I mean, as far as I know, the only way LA treats animals is bringing them on movie sets to be exactly what he just said.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, man, that's so cool. That's so cool. I was right. It's about witches. And it's funny because I do remember, and I know I told you this when we first saw it, when Katie and I first saw it. One of the things that I really liked about it was that it simultaneously reminded me of a fairy tale and reminded me...
They talk about that also. Yeah. He talks about how all of his movies are fairy tales.
I can see that. The other thing that it really reminded me of was old occult movies from like the 70s, but with everything, brought into the more modern context of the modeling world. Yeah, that's great. I'm super excited.
That's why I said. I was like, I have something that you'll be excited about.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that this is not the first time that he's made a movie that is basically about the supernatural without ever mentioning or making clear that it's supernatural. I don't know if you've seen Valhalla Rising.
I'm not sure if I have. I might have one time. I'm not sure.
It's really good. It's a movie
about... Is that with that Mads guy?
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
Okay, so yeah, he plays a one-eyed Viking who ends up in somewhere in the Americas.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but I don't remember much about it.
Well, it's very dreamy and pretty brutal. It's about, he is a one-eyed Viking in the Americas, but whereas the other characters in the movie actually talk and all that, he doesn't. And he always reacts to everything with what looks like an air of curiosity. And so apparently the reason for that is because he's an alien. And the original ending of the movie was going to have a UFO come and get him.
Oh.
So.
Don't love that.
Well, I think that's why they didn't go with that ending. But yeah, the idea is that he is supposed to be... Where is
he supposed to be? Just general?
I think it's either Canada or Greenland.
Okay. So I was going to say, Vikings didn't actually make it to the North America continent, but they did make it to Greenland.
Yeah. I mean, isn't Greenland technically part of the North American continent?
Yeah, but it's an island.
Right. I mean, everything's an island when you think about it.
Yeah, it was true, but they didn't make it to the mainland.
Yeah. No, I know they didn't make it to the mainland. I think they did make it to parts of... Or I know they didn't make it to what we now call the USA. I think they made it to parts of Canada. But it's also hard to tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's interesting. I really like that he does that.
I do think also just one way to interpret this movie is like how mean women can be to each other, just in general.
Absolutely. Although there's definitely some scenes of men being horrendous to women.
Yeah, but it's still okay. I guess it could be how women are pitted. They are pitted against each other because the men being awful are also pitting the women against each other. Yeah, the whole thing that you don't like about Gigi being standing there is like, look how fake you are and look how natural they are. Go fuck.
Well, but Ruby also does the same thing between Gigi and Sarah.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like it's how women are or do pit each other against. So like it all has to do with beauty and nothing else too, which is like awful. And that really does happen. Yeah. Because in society, women are valued for beauty and breeding.
Trying so hard to think of a joke that won't get me in trouble.
Just saying.
Yeah, no, that is how women are viewed in our society. And I do think that I know what I'm about to sound like. I know that the capitalist patriarchal society that we live in really thrives on making sure that women are constantly in competition with each other and that they really focus, primarily on beauty and being nurturing and all that, the traditional gender role bullshit.
Yeah.
Which is doubly unfair in my opinion now because now we live in a society where you can't keep a home on one salary anymore. So like women gotta work.
Yeah.
But then there's no fucking winning there, I think, because they gotta work, but then everyone's pissed that they're working. Like you can't pay, you gotta pay the rent, man.
Yeah.
So.
But that's also like with Jessie, like I was saying, not shitting on Elle Fanning. She's a beautiful girl. She's not drop dead gorgeous. She's not somebody that turns heads walking down the street. She's not. So I just feel like what they want is her youth and her virginity, which makes her more pure.
I don't know if I agree or disagree with that. I do think that I agree with you definitely in the early parts of the movie. Mm-hmm. Once she embraces her vanity and...
She embraces her vanity, but she maintains her virginity.
Right. But no, I'm saying I think that after that scene, when she's got her hair done up and her makeup done, I do think she's head turning once she hits that point. But yeah, she does maintain her virginity, which, gets her eaten.
Yeah, but that's also something that could be talked about with that guy that's like, natural beauty versus like getting surgeries and stuff done. Makeup isn't natural beauty. If you have to wear makeup to look gorgeous, sorry, you're not gorgeous.
Yeah, no, makeup is not natural beauty. Clothing isn't natural beauty.
Like, to be fair, I think women are beautiful with makeup and without. But I'm just saying, like, if you are not desirable without makeup, then guess what? Not attractive.
I think everybody's desirable to somebody.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I'm
talking about like a passing.
Yeah. So I do think that this touches on something that I hate in society in general, that there's always this focus on like natural anything, not just beauty, but like you always hear when people are going to shit on queer people, they're like, it's not natural.
Living in a house isn't natural.
The internet's not natural. Your television isn't natural. Language, technically, our ability to have it is natural. Every word we can say out of our mouths is made up. Nothing we do is in modern society is natural. Yeah. Clothes aren't, makeup isn't, house isn't, your television isn't. Natural is overrated. Yeah. Suck a dick. Sure. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you're going to compare...
that on my gravestone. Natural is overrated. Suck a dick. But yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Oh, I was just saying, if you're going to sit there and compare, not you, but like in the movie, like somebody who's had hella plastic surgery and then be like, look at these natural beauties who have like a gallon of makeup on and like have clothes that were like measured and fitted for them. And like, there is a saying that's going around the internet a lot now that is, I'm not ugly, I'm just poor.
Fucking valid. If I was wealthy enough that I didn't have to work, I would actually spend a fuckload of time at the gym for no other reason than I would want to like look better.
Yeah.
And I mean, other than that, as far as style goes, I think you and I both have kind of our own styles that we don't need to be rich for. For me personally, one of the cool things about being a punk. But yeah, man. Yeah. We really treat women like shit. And we treat poor people like shit.
We also just value looks too much.
Way too much. Way too much. It's bonkers how many assumptions people will make about you just based on your looks.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know what it's like to be a woman. Never had to go through that level of anything. So I don't think it's something that I can totally speak on. But I'm friends with a lot of women. You're my best friend. Yep. And I've listened to a lot of women in my life discussing just how fucked up all these beauty standards are. But also, very differently, men have their own stupid beauty standards or standards of masculinity and all of that. Beauty's ridiculous. But it's also really funny to say that because we're both artists. So we do try to make, even if you and I aren't focused on perfect bodily beauty, we do try to make things that look cool or sound cool or all that. So aesthetics are a thing, a dumb thing, but a thing. So who would you... You guys didn't hear any of this, but a bunch of really ridiculous stuff just happened. Who would you recommend The Neon Demon for?
So, this movie's not for everyone.
No, it is not.
Yeah, so if you're into artsy movies, probably feel like A24. It's not an A24 movie. Neon.
No, but I could totally imagine A24 putting this out.
Yeah, so people like that. You have to be into artsy stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna basically say the same thing. If you like horror and you also like Nicolas Refn's other movies like Drive or Only God Forgives, you'll love it. It's great. You got to be able to deal with a lot of artsy nonsense. Yeah. If you're into that though, you'll fucking love this. Yeah.
So you can watch Neon Demon with a subscription to either AMC Plus or Shudder, and for free you can watch it, or to rent, is at Roku channel, Canopy, and then you can rent it from Prime Video, Apple TV, and Fandango Home.
The Fandango at Home version includes, as a bonus feature, the extended cut or the unrated cut. Basically the one with more necrophilia. Gotta have that necrophilia. That does it for this episode of Streaming Screams. Jessica, play us out.
Be beautiful.